This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
That you stand for.
Shin champion!
JT's connecting! Oh my God! You turned into the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine right, jet flying, son of a gun.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 fishy, fishy!
All right, welcome once again to the Voice Wrestling Podcast. I'm Rich Craich alongside, as always, Mr. Joe Lanz. And Joe, we are back for a special, Friday night edition after our last week's Sunday afternoon edition and everything but Thursdays. And my God, that just the recording issue. We've been a cursed show as of late. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I don't like it one bit.
I wonder how many people don't listen until the weekend anyway.
The Observer board, because I do post every show that we do on the Observer board, and usually I'll wake up that next morning and there'll be one or two of our hardcore people that are like, oh, I listened to the whole thing. And I was like, okay, but I don't know how you listen to 4 hours, already or whatever. But yeah, then we get Friday and Saturday, I get a ton of posts on there and a ton of people replying. So maybe there is a lot of people that listen on the weekends. So, hey, when you're cleaning the house, I don't know, do you have us on in the background? That'd be creepy, but
there's always,
I listen to podcasts while I clean. So
there's always a couple people who, after you upload it and go to bed, and then I'm on Twitter all night, they listen to it. It's a 4-hour show, and they're done with it 4.5 hours after we're done putting it up.
What's up? Because I'll go to bed at midnight, and I'll wake up at 6, and they're done and already replied 2 hours ago. And I'm like, oh God, what are you doing with your life? What is wrong with you? But I'm glad we have those people. They're good people.
There we go, bashing the listeners again.
We're pretty bad at that.
I tell you, we never learn. I think they like it though. It's
they do. They're sadists, so they enjoy it. So
it's endearing.
I mean, they listen to this stupid thing. They like us. I mean, they can't possibly take themselves too seriously, right?
It's endearing to get bashed by us. I mean, we bash everybody else, and why not the listeners too?
Right. Exactly.
What are we going to start with here? We
got plenty of stuff. Well, real quick, just so people know, and we've been kind of banging this drum for a little bit here, but obviously if you want to help out the website, our Amazon and WWE Shop affiliates are a good way to do that. We're not going to ask you for money like some people, but yeah, if you want to make any purchase on Amazon, voicewrestling.com/Amazon, it helps us out. Same Amazon store as always, but we get a little bit of kickback as well. And if you're going to buy WWE merchandise, voicewrestling.com/WWE Shop, and there's tons of Kevin Owens. Have you seen? Well, we'll get to that in a little bit when we talk about Elimination Chamber, but you and I are very big proponents of the cream rise to the top. That there is no way, if there's a guy who's got it and is talented and is destined to be a star, he will find a way to be a star. And I think that is just clear. I mean, within weeks now, I mean, there's so much merchandise that he's got up there. He's got 2 pages filled of merch. He's a featured guy. They're sending us emails of hey, there's new Kevin Owens shirt. It's just it's constant stuff. I mean, they get it. They definitely get it with this guy. So don't worry.
There's nothing not to get.
Yeah.
I mean, are you still plugging away, or are we doing the show?
No, that's it. No, I'm done now. I'm done.
All right. So yeah, I mean, so I guess that means we're starting with Elimination Chamber, which is fine by me. But yeah, I mean, we've been banging this drum for a long time, even before, the guy was signed, where there, going back a couple years where people were saying he'd never be signed because of his weight. And, we were kind of negative on that and thought that, times were changing, and that proved to be right.
Yeah.
And now he's here. And, from the first moment he appeared on WWE television, it was obvious that this guy was going to be a big star. I just thought he's just one of those guys, like you're saying, when you say the cream, is going to rise to the top and that we firmly believe in that, we're talking about the best of the best. We're talking about,
Yes, right.
we're not talking about, you know, uh, every indie guy that we like here. We're talking about guys where it's just obvious that they have it. And this is one of those guys where, and a lot of times, it's they have to be in the WWE environment first to see whether they have it in that environment. And it was obvious that this guy had it as soon as he walked in.
Oh yeah, from the second he debuted on NXT and just the reactions he garnered and just so much of the character. I wrote about it a few weeks ago of just what his character is and what it's about and just they just get it in general with this guy of how to push him, how to use him, how to utilize him, and a lot of it is just him being able to just kind of do whatever he's good at. They're not trying to fit him into a box of anything. For so long, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, is, there was always this template, and people believe that as well, which is the funniest thing is that, oh, well, no, people aren't going to cheer for a fat guy wearing a t-shirt. He needs to be, ripped and look like a superhero and all this stuff. No, they don't. They don't care. If they connect with the guy and the guy can connect with the crowd and he's a good, there's so many things that can get guys over. There's no template for it, but Kevin Owens in a lot of ways, and it happened in Ring of Honor. You kind of sense it there. Is this guy just, there was something about him that connected to the crowd, and no matter what you were going to do, it was probably going to connect in WWE as well if you just kind of let him be what he was. And that's what we've seen so far. And Elimination Chamber was, I thought, a great example of that, where it was just, okay, it was worked, not in the confines of what I would consider WWE style, even though there was elements of kind of main event WWE style or whatever, but they didn't worry about it. They just said, hey, this guy's a big deal. Let's go out there right away, have him get this big win, and it's over and it's done. And he's already positioned as the second biggest heel in the entire company.
I'm tired of talking about his look. It's such a non-issue. His look is a non-issue. It's only an issue for people who are stuck in 2004 or stuck in 1989 and people who just don't get it. I honestly am just so tired of talking about this look.
I agree.
It's such a non-factor with him. It doesn't matter. Would someone with his look, would it be a detriment to someone who didn't have all of his other tools? Sure. With this guy, his look doesn't matter. In fact, I kind of think his look enhances.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I've argued with people, because they're saying, oh, this t-shirt and basketball shorts thing, and I said he shouldn't be wearing spandex speedos and have a fake tan or whatever. He's just a family man that's a brawler that hates that's like fighting people. He doesn't need to look.
He's a guy who doesn't care what he looks like.
Right, exactly. He has no.
It doesn't matter to him.
That's not a part of his persona. It's not what motivates him. It's not what inspires him. That's nothing. Like, he looks like a guy who wakes out of bed and puts a shirt on and goes and fights. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. And as for the match with Cena, this was clearly designed to get him over as a top guy, and it looks like they want him to be, one of the top heels, if not eventually the top heel. And we have strong opinions here sometimes, and people like it when I go crazy and lose my control and go on these silly rants. But I've never really come out as strong as I'm about to come out in terms of people's opinions and what they think of matches and things like that. But this idea that they did too much in that match, Cena and Owens.
Now define that, and for people that don't know what. I guess, well, I don't know. Were people clear in what they meant by doing too much? But just so people know what you're kind of clarifying.
The kind of things we're hearing are too many near falls, too many big moves,
too many finishers and kicking out of finishers,
and guys kicking out of finishers, things like that. If you're one of these people who think that Cena and Owens did too much in this match, look, you don't understand pro wrestling, or at minimum, you don't understand modern pro wrestling, and you definitely don't understand what they were trying to set out to accomplish in this match. And that might sound arrogant, that might sound confrontational, that might sound uppity, but it's the truth. If you think they did too much in this match, you're completely lost and you don't get wrestling. I firmly believe that. Or you're someone who just stubbornly doesn't want to admit that this Kevin Owens guy has got it and is destined to be a star. Those people, though, we can set aside because they're just goofballs who they're going to fight this to the death. And they're probably the same people who fought the idea that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan were going to be stars too. They're probably the same people. And, you know, you just got to set those dopes aside because they're just going to fight it to the death and who cares? But to these other people who are being open-minded about Owens or are Owens fans or are Cena fans or even like the match, but think that they, quote, did too much, I don't think you get what they were trying to accomplish here. And honestly, I'll go as far as to say, I don't think you understand pro wrestling or at minimum modern pro wrestling. That match was the perfect match. Perfect, Rich. I wouldn't change a single thing about that match for what they were attempting to accomplish with the match.
I'm with you.
Which was to get this guy over immediately as a top guy. They didn't do everything they did was perfect. There's nothing they did in that match that I would change. So I don't want to hear that they did too much. It's this old school thinking. You don't understand modern wrestling then. They basically gave you a WrestleMania style main event on this show, which is what you needed to get this guy over.
Exactly. And I think that's the important thing that people need to realize is that, yeah, maybe it wasn't positioned as such and it was, in the middle of the show and there was some other stuff, but that was meant to be a big time WWE main event. And that felt and looked like a WrestleMania main event. It felt and looked like a major SummerSlam main event. And that was the goal. That was the object. That's what the point was. So for people that are saying, well, that felt like a WrestleMania main event. Yes, exactly. That's what it was supposed to be.
Exactly. And it worked. And it worked. This guy's the hottest thing in wrestling right now. And it's only going to get hotter. I mean, unless they find a way to blow this one, which with this company is always a possibility. But I have a feeling with this one, I have a good feeling about it because it seems like
I do too.
It seems like everybody's behind him. Because
we know Triple H is on board, and
we know that for sure.
the rapid ascension, like the rapid. I mean, then Vince is on board.
And we know,
you know what I mean? Like
Cena had no problem.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Cena not only let this guy pin him clean in the middle, clean as a sheet in the middle, but he let him kick out of his finish. Okay, that's significant. And as a little sidebar, something I haven't heard anybody bring up that I'm kind of kicking around in my head, maybe Cena didn't believe in Rusev. Maybe that's why that feud sort of played out the way it did. Maybe Cena wasn't willing to be so selfless for Rusev for whatever reason. I haven't heard that. I don't know that to be any sort of fact. But it's obvious that Cena's willing to do this for this guy. But that could be nothing. That could have nothing to do with Cena. That could just be a horribly booked feud. In fact, I think Cena Rusev right now is worst feud of the year. I think it's not even.
Ooh, it was, yeah, in terms of the damage it did. And
think about how red hot Rusev was coming into that
it's
feud.
Really.
And look where he is now, and look where Lana is now. Look where that act is now compared to where they were coming into the feud with Cena.
It's impressive. Yeah, it did an impressive job of completely destroying something that was significant. Yeah, it's
there was people wanted to see Rusev Lesnar.
Yeah.
There was legitimate talk of that. And
like Rusev main eventing a SummerSlam was not ridiculous in February. And then now people would laugh, like just they wouldn't even listen to it. It would be you'd be put into a home if you said that.
It did incredible damage. Not only were the matches lousy, but I'm convinced that feud cost the company money. So by every definition of worst feud of the year, I mean that's got to be the runaway leader right now. I mean, there's nothing good. What good came out of that? Nothing.
Didn't they had at least one decent match, didn't they? Or am I missing?
The WrestleMania match was an average match, but
was that? Yeah, was that that one?
Then they had a bunch of stipulation matches which were utter trash.
Oh, so there was nothing before that Mania match, was there? I'm like, then never mind that. No, never mind. That was awful then.
That was.
Oh, you know what? I'm mixing up. I'm mixing up last year's Ryback mini feud thing or whatever. No, okay, no, this is pretty terrible. Or the Wyatt thing. Last year's Wyatt thing is what I meant.
So anyway, I don't.
But they had one or two. Matches
Cena and Wyatt had the good last man standing match.
Which is shocking that somehow, some way, this Rusev feud was worse than that Bray Wyatt feud. Which, God, do you remember that one?
I mean that.
Speaking of cooling a guy
because
off
at least
real
you got
fast.
the one great match out of that feud.
Yeah.
Got nothing out of this, and it totally killed. You could argue the Cena feud kind of derailed Wyatt too, but
Absolutely.
the thing with Wyatt though is, and I'll tell you, I hate to pat myself on the back, but
There was a shelf life there
I'm
for
one
sure.
of the few voices that were saying it at the time, but Wyatt was headed down this path anyway.
Mhm.
I'm convinced of that. So, but in this case, they really had something with Rusev to look at it. But I don't want to get derailed off Owens here. But what was I going to say? Yeah. So anyway, the fact that Cena was willing to do this for Owens, they had to go out and have that kind of match. You couldn't go out there and have a match where there was no reason to save anything for later in a match like this, because the objective of the match was to get the guy over instantly.
Yeah, he was supposed to catapult 95% of the roster and get to that upper echelon right away.
And from just a pure entertainment aesthetic standpoint, I thought Rob Viper said it best, both on Twitter and on some message boards that I saw. Put business aside, put the objective of the match aside. Let's put all that stuff aside for a second. I think Rob really put it best. Just as a wrestling fan, what the fuck does they did too much? Do people not want to be entertained? I mean, what's wrong with you people? I mean, look, I admit, it is possible to do too much in a match. And we've all been in those situations where we roll our eyes and say, all right, the opening match of the indie show at the VFW hall down the street really didn't need to go this far. But come on, these are two of the biggest stars in wrestling. They're out there having a tremendous match of the year caliber match. And
right, with the intention of one of the guys has to become the second best guy. His debut match, he has to become the second biggest heel in the entire company.
Yeah, and you're going to whine that it was exciting and they did too much? Get lost. I mean, these people, it's amazing. It's like people don't want to be entertained. Who could have possibly have watched that match and at the end of it said, I really like that match, but I wish they would have slowed it down and grabbed a hold? Are you fucking mental? Are you mental? There's a time and a place for that. This match wasn't. I mean, if you couldn't enjoy that match, I really don't know what to tell you. I'm at a loss at these people with the they did too much stuff.
I was kind of shocked when I went onto Twitter and other places and saw that, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, because I mean, I even put it in my review. I said, quote, this was the perfect first matchup between these two.
And let me tell you something.
Perfect.
It was perfect.
And I used that word. Yeah, go ahead.
You're absolutely right. Perfect is the right word. That's the word I used earlier. You were right to say it. It was the perfect match that they needed to have. And I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell everybody something else. I'm going to teach everybody something else here too. Okay? All right? You can do a fast-paced match with a million moves and a million kickouts, and that match, it is entirely possible that a match of that style can have a ton of psychology. And you know how I know that? Because I just watched it. Because that match had a ton of psychology, and that match told a tremendous story, and it was fast paced, and it had a million moves, and it had a million kickouts, but it all worked. Context is key, and that match did tell a great story, even though they did a million moves and they did a million kickouts, and it was worked at a fast pace. It doesn't mean. Psychology doesn't mean grabbing holds and working body part. It could be, as long as you're telling a good story, a match has good psychology. And this match told a great story. I would even go to far to say, and I said this somewhere, I don't remember where I said it, either on Twitter or one of these stupid message boards, but I'll go as far to say, in terms of matches this year, okay, this match had the best overall psychology and told the best in-ring story of any match of this entire year, aside from Tanahashi Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 9, which the storytelling, you know how I feel about that match.
Oh, yeah.
That's my match of the year right now. That's one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. And you know why? Because of the great story that they told in that match, okay? This match is second only to that match, and it would be number one in almost any other year in terms of storytelling in a match and accomplishing the objective of what the wrestlers were setting out to do. And that's what
right. That's where I always look at it. Yeah,
and that's what's
exactly. That's what I always look about more than anything. When I watch a match and when I'm done with it, I look and say, okay, going in, what were these two guys' goal? What was the goal of this match? What was the booking goal? What is to be intended from this? And when that was over, regardless of sort of a lot of the how it gets there, whatever, if it meets the objective, I really have a tough time arguing it. And the objective here was this guy's debut match against the established, one of the legendary stars of WWE. And what we want to do after this is have him be one of the top heels, if not the top heel in the company, in one match. We are going to try our best to catapult him all the way there in one match. And they did it. if the goal was for a slow burn and Kevin Owens is going to work his way through the ranks and hold a US title and then kind of do this and then work his way here and then get the IC title. Okay, yeah, then it's kind of ridiculous. If next week he's going in and fighting, Neville or whatever, he's fighting Bo Dallas or whatever, yeah, absolutely. But no, he's not doing it. His goal right now is, okay, fuck all those other guys. You're in the top. You're in the echelon now.
Yeah.
You're in that top 5.
And look, we'll see what
right away. And that was the goal. That was it, and it did it.
And they're going right to a rematch. And we'll see what they do. Listen, we could be singing a totally different tune after that.
Yeah, I'm not in love with that. I'm not in love with the going right back to the rematch. But
so far, so good, man. And
yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
We'll see how they handle the rematch. And we'll see what they do. And, the other thing, too. And, I know part of this is, we should mention he signed a main roster contract. Owens did.
Correct.
And obviously, and Vince makes those calls. From everything we've been told via Dave Meltzer, Vince decides when these guys get called up. And like Meltzer said, it doesn't matter if they're in the middle of a program or if they're the champion. If he wants them up from NXT, they're coming up.
Right.
Okay. So obviously somebody wanted this guy called up, and that's the big guy. Okay. And I'm not talking about Ryan33 on Tinder. I'm talking about the real big guy, VKM. Okay. He wanted this guy up, and he got him up. And so he'll drop the title at some point. Or vacate it, or the best thing they can do in terms of that, I would have Owens come out there on NXT and say, you know what, I told you guys, fantasy booking alert, that I hate this, but you guys can cut me a break. Rich, do I ever fantasy book?
Not often, no. Even in conversations with you, it doesn't happen often.
Do I detest fantasy booking?
To an extent, yeah.
But I'm gonna fantasy book here because I'm excited, and it's good to be excited about wrestling.
I'm curious if your story is the same as mine. We'll go.
Yeah,
we'll have a fantasy book.
I'll go, then
here.
you'll go, and I have a feeling it's gonna be similar.
Are you holding a pencil right now, or
I'm not holding a pencil? I'm wearing a visor, and I'm holding a pencil, and I have a puffy sleeve shirt on. So I don't know why I'm an 1880s banker.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm just holding a pencil and a notebook.
Yeah,
but...
so I'm a colonial era banker apparently.
Yeah, I don't know
I have a curly
that,
mustache, and I'm writing with a quill pen. In fact, no. But what I would do is, I'd have Owens come out on NXT and say, "Look, I told you guys that I'm a prize fighter and I fight for my family, and this NXT thing was great, but I got a bigger prize in mind now, and I don't want this NXT title. I want the insert title here, whether that's the United States title, which would obviously make a ton of sense right now, World Heavyweight title, whatever. And I'd have him leave that fucking thing in the center of the ring and walk the fuck out of Orlando. How about that?"
Yeah, my thing's similar. My thing is, again, because he's always said, and from the beginning of his NXT has been his motivation is the family and money. He's always been, and that's something I really enjoy too about it, because a lot of these WWE wrestlers live in this universe where we have no idea what like you know what I mean? Like there's no incentive one way or another, but he's always said money is my incentive. Feeding my family or whatever, and he can just point blank say, look, I got a WWE contract. I'm on the main roster. That was my goal, is to feed my family and do that. And yeah, I mean, so it's very similar to you, and it's the same thing where he vacates it. I don't think he has to lose it to anybody. I don't think there's anything wrong with him saying, look, I'm moving on to the next chapter. I did what I wanted to do here at NXT, let someone else can have it. And people could talk about, oh, he's devaluing the title, but he's a chicken shit heel. So it doesn't, because
you know what though, at the end of the day though too, it's just developmental.
Exactly right, and that's the thing. People again, and I wanted to bring that up, is that people bring that up like, oh well, no, how's he going to lose this NXT title? How's he going to whatever? I mean, yeah,
he just leave it in the ring. I would prefer they don't beat him. I mean, look, yeah, I like Samoa Joe and all. I like Balor and all, but I just prefer they don't beat him. He shouldn't lose yet.
Mm-mm.
So,
he shouldn't take a pin. He shouldn't take a pin on WWE television for quite some time.
Look,
I mean, this is.
I agree. I mean, if they do beat him in NXT, I don't think it's the end of the world. Would I beat him though? Would Joe Lanza, 1880s Joe Lanza with the visor and the curly mustache and the puffy sleeve shirt and the quill pen, would he beat him? No, but I wouldn't beat him. No.
I think there's many other ways around it other than just having him. I mean, especially the way his character's been built, the way he talks, the way his motivations, whatever. It's very simple in that universe, just to have him, and he's done that numerous times. Ducked away from fights and done that sort of stuff. Where maybe they book something and he goes, no, I'm on the main roster. It's fine. I don't need this. And just leaves, and that's fine. Whatever. It's over. It's done.
They could do a 3-way and beat someone else. Look, there's a million different things they could do. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, well, I think even the three-way, because the problem is there's no motivation for him, and that's the thing, and that's what they've done such a good job of Kevin Owens is that he's stuck to the plan, and him getting upset about losing the NXT title, he worried about that for a little bit when he was facing Cena, and he said, "Oh, I have the real title here," but now once you can be transparent about it, hey, I got my WWE contract, and now I'm making more money than I'll ever make in NXT. Bye, That's fine. I don't think there's a big deal in that, but whatever. Yeah, exactly like you said. They'll get to it one way or another. But yeah, I would not have him take a visual pin for a long time.
I feel dirty, Rich.
For fantasy booking?
I've had enough fantasy booking.
What's your SummerSlam card, Joe?
I can't do this anymore. I feel filthy. I feel like a 3 a.m. Tinder mistake just happened, and I'm staring at
there's second Tinder reference right here. What do you got on your mind? It's Friday night, Joe. If you want me to go, we don't have to do this right. Get out of here if you want.
I feel like I've just hopped in the car after a mistake, and I'm staring at that man in the mirror, wondering where my life has gone. That's how fantasy.
You do that every day? Isn't that every day in your life?
Whoa, Rich with the shade. Wow, that's some heavy shade, man. Fantasy booking is the shits. Let's move on. You want to talk about the rest of this card?
Yeah, let's run down it real quick because people are always, every time we say nobody cares about our Elimination Chamber WWE pay-per-view things, everybody goes, yeah, we care, even though it's been over a week, but that's fine. We'll go over that real quick. I don't think we need to go into excruciating detail, but we're kind of quickly go over these. I don't know if you watched the pre-show match between Stardust and Zack Ryder, but
I actually know.
The good news is I think people have joined your bandwagon and really are starting to kind of not really kind of get what the hell Stardust is
Rich,
or what it's supposed to be.
I gotta tell
you, it's that's a victory for us. I think.
I didn't even watch this match, but I mean, I'm ahead of the curve on so many things. And why don't people listen to Joe Lanza? Okay, it's like
I've been on this thing for quite some time for the Cody Rhodes thing. This is 2 years running for me of just every time I hear over or underrated Cody Rhodes, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even argue it anymore because I just don't even listen to it anymore. But yeah, people are catching up now.
Did you see the match? I didn't see the match.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was a match.
It was a match. Yeah, it was 6 minutes and yeah, Yeah. All right. The opener was the Tag Team Elimination Chamber match. This was the New Day defeating the Lucha Dragons, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, the Primetime Players, the Ascension, and Los Matadores. I did not like this. You enjoyed this.
Okay, can I clarify something?
Maybe not enjoyed, but okay, yes.
Let me clarify because I took a lot of heat on Twitter, but
and rightfully so.
We'll see. We'll see what you think. But the bottom line is this with this match. This match. People were ripping this match and complaining about the match. And the thing about this match was it was exactly what I expected. You had 14 people. You had 6 tag teams and then 2 extra people inside of this Elimination Chamber ring. Did people think that this was going to be a smooth, well-constructed match? I knew it was going to be a sloppy spot fest. And that was what I was trying to convey on Twitter. It was exactly what I expected it to be. And I do think people were too hard on it, maybe because they had different expectations, and maybe I wasn't hard on it because it met my expectation. It was exactly what I thought it would be. And, I never once disagreed that it was sloppy. In fact, the exact words out of my mouth were that this is sloppy. The first tweet that I sent out. But then, of course, you got these goofballs on Twitter with their hyperbole, and then all of a sudden people were calling it the Lanza match of the year. And look, that stuff doesn't bother me. Listen, they can bust balls. I don't mind. I bust balls. People can bust my balls. I don't care. But I never said that. All I said was the match was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And just on pure work rate alone, for the fact that everybody worked really hard, I think it was like a 2 3/4, 3-star match. I see people saying, "Oh, it was a dud. It was one." Come on, give me a break. It wasn't that bad. It was just a fun, sloppy spot fest. I wasn't offended watching this match at all, and I have no fucking idea what Kalisto was attempting to do. But
yeah, there was a lot. The first half of the match for me, and mostly Kalisto doing whatever. There were 2 things that he was on top of that pod for like 20 minutes. I don't know what the hell he was doing up there, and then the New Day kept having to recover him by grabbing his feet, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then he gets up there to the top of the chamber and then just kind of fall. There was just a bunch of the first half of the match I thought was really, you talked about a sloppy spot fest, and I thought, and me, I'm not one to complain about, a spotty match or anything like that, but this was basically, it was hard for me to get into it because it was just there were so many guys in the ring, so many untalented people as well, because you had the Ascension in there and it was focused on them. And just, it seemed like a lot of just kind of, hey, what can we do with as many people as possible? And it was like they were kind of, like they had no idea, no plan, no thought. It was just kind of, okay, I'm going to go here and then we're going to jump into all these people and see what happens. Okay, and then we're going to go here. And then, I don't really like that anymore. I'm just going to kind of hang up here for 10 minutes. And see. It was just, the whole thing was weird. It got a lot better at the end. And I think that's what kind of saved it. And that,
see, I disagree. I thought it was better when it was a clusterfuck in the beginning.
It was too clusterfucky, though.
I was bored once all the teams got eliminated. That's when it went too long and it got boring for me. And I'm glad you brought up the Ascension because I thought they looked better in this match than they've ever looked in this company.
Yeah. I mean, what? Okay.
That's not exactly
disagree,
high praise.
Yeah, I thought they sucked like they always fucking suck.
That's
but
fair.
That's fine.
But I mean, I thought
they were just as awful as they always are.
I was more impressed with them in this match than I have. And believe me, that's not exactly high praise because I've always thought they were just flat out terrible. I don't even think they've ever been passable. I just think they're flat out terrible.
I think what helped this match a lot is there was another chamber match later in the night that we'll talk about. That sometimes I feel like you're in my head, Rich. And I'm glad you brought that up while we were still talking about this match. Because, one thing I said during this match was, look, I'll take a sloppy spot fest with a bunch of dumb spots over being bored out of my mind. And then what did we get 2 hours later? We got a chamber match with nothing, with no juice. And I was begging for those guys to do some sloppy, stupid spots that made no sense. Yeah, I need Dolph Ziggler now falling into 10 people and hurting his neck or something. Because, that it was...
They proved my point 2 hours later that I'd rather have the sloppy garbage.
It was I prefer the slop over the bore, but yeah, I thought there was a few different ways that they could have done it a little bit more fun, and I think maybe to your point, you said you liked when everybody was in there. I think it could have been a little bit better if it was a little bit more control because it kind of felt like a battle royal at points, and it was I don't know. I mean, I think fundamentally there was no real way that this match was ever going to be good given how many people had to be in it. I mean, there's just not enough room for these guys to be in here, so. I get it from that extent, and yeah, I probably hated it more when it was immediately done versus after I watched that elimination or the Intercontinental elimination. Then I was kind of like, you know what? Yeah, maybe it wasn't that bad because this was that one was the dirt word. We'll get to that one here in a sec. But moving on, Nikki Bella versus Paige versus Naomi. This boy,
man, this was pretty bad.
Wow,
not a good match. Not a good match.
Not a good for us, Team Naomi. That was not a sterling match for those on Team Naomi. This
was another situation where you can kind of competition is always good. In any I'm not just talking about wrestling. It's when you're being pushed, you're usually at your best. Whether it's whatever you do for a living, competing for the attention of the opposite sex. I don't care what we're talking about here. Competition drives people, and you really get the sense that the female wrestlers in this company are driving each other to top each other and be better. But, sometimes you just got to stay in your lane. And, a reverse Hurricane Rana spot with the people that were involved, it just, listen, I'm the last guy to complain about dangerous spot. That looked dangerous.
That was sickening. That was real close to breaking Paige's neck. And
I mean, you're just not ready for that. And,
it was not good.
And I was critical, on last week's show or the week before where, I thought that Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch tried something that was out of their lane with, catching her on the dive outside the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not Cesaro, I mean, I understand, but you're out there. Look, I appreciate the gumption, but there's some things that some wrestlers sometimes should, like Kalisto. What the fuck was he doing? I mean, obviously, the end result was not what he was setting out to do.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do like a back flip or some sort of front flip onto the people, but then he just kind of fell.
He couldn't get his momentum.
And then nobody caught him, too. The worst part was there's 10 dudes and, like, people just put arms on. It's like, guys, come on.
Can these guys watch a Dragon Gate tape now and then?
I know they don't know how to catch these guys. It just ends up looking like
someone's gonna get serious.
There's 14. Yeah, well, no, I thought like Callisto one. There's 14 dudes or whatever at the bottom. Guys, get in the way. You're not gonna get hurt.
No,
you're not. You guys can catch him, but yeah, like guys are just putting their arms out. And your wrist is not gonna stop. You're gonna get more hurt putting your wrist out there than just putting the rest of your body out there when there's 10 dudes. Yeah, it's
you got people trying shit that they're just not ready or equipped to do. And
That's what's going to hurt people. You know, Dave always said, "Oh, these guys are doing their flips and that sort of stuff." Not in Dragon Gate, they fall into 37 dudes, exactly. So they never we talk about all the time. Genki Horiguchi can fall onto people till he's 60 because every time he dives onto people, there's 37 people catching him. But yeah, and the Kalisto is nobody's
dives.
Catching him.
I mean, they're totally safe because they're so low impact.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, I don't know. And the reverse round. Look, I appreciate the fact that she tried to get creative and do something that she saw somebody do on a tape somewhere, but it just, man, I don't know. And it makes you groan too. It was so ugly, and I don't know what's going on with Paige. I mean, she hasn't had.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too. We're always kind of waiting for that great Paige match, and we saw some in NXT, and we saw hints of it or whatever. But really, on the main roster,
she's been having some shitty matches. And I mean, look, the Tamina match is a contender for worst match of the year. I know that you blow off Raw a lot. Did you see the Tamina?
I have not seen that one yet.
The Tamina Paige match is. Look, my pick is still that Roman Reigns Seth Rollins match. I will be alone on that island until a fucking tsunami sweeps through that island and takes me with it. But I still say that Raw match with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins from January is the worst match of the year. But this Tamina Paige match is going to get a lot of votes and it might win. It was that bad, Rich. It's worth seeking out. But that was mostly on Tamina because Tamina stinks. And Tamina stinks, and she really, I mean, I don't see the point or why she's on the roster. I mean, it's like, but anyway, Paige that's not Louis this time. You hear that barking?
Yeah, no, yes, that is Joe Dogsitter.
I'm responsible. So. Normally,
Louis is not even here. Louis is in South Carolina. So
yeah, normally my dogs are very well behaved, but I'm dog sitting this week. I have my ex-girlfriend's dog here. And not only it's a puppy, it's about 4 months old, and she's completely out of control and harassing,
biting your other dogs,
harassing my poor dogs and biting their necks and trying to get them to play. She's a puppy. She's trying to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she's prancing around the house looking for puppy things to do, and she's probably
some wires she's going to try to eat later.
I've got this Chihuahua who's a rescue. She's probably pushing 10 years old, and she doesn't want to deal with this shit. She's an old lady. All she wants to do is sit on the couch, hang out, and get a treat now and then. You know what I mean? That's all she wants to do at this point in her life. Okay? She just wants to sit on the couch and chill out until she croaks. And then I get this puppy over here barking at her, nipping at her neck, and it's like I feel terrible for Lexi, the Chihuahua, who's being harassed to no end here by Piper, not named after Roddy by the ex-girlfriend, because the ex-girlfriend probably doesn't know who Roddy Piper is. But Piper, the puppy here, harassing the poor Chihuahua. And my Boston Terrier, she's just upstairs hiding somewhere to get away from it.
Just fuck this. Yeah.
She's just not dealing with it. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm under a bed somewhere. You're not even going to find me. So they like when I go to work because then the puppy gets locked in the cage. My dogs don't need to be in the cage. They're well behaved. The puppy's got to go in the cage. But anyway, that's the random barking you're going to be hearing. But,
okay, yeah.
So anyway, bottom line, Paige has stunk lately, and we don't know why.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's been. I mean, even you can go back to the AJ ones. I mean, it's been a thing where, and it could be, of course, I agree. It at some point could just be the talent around her, and that she needs these good workers around her. And then when Sasha comes up and all these people, then we're going to talk. But I mean, yeah, that AJ one was no good. The AJ feud. I mean, they had how many matches? Just every single one. None of them ever got to that level.
We blamed it on lack of chemistry, but. I mean,
it hasn't happened with anybody yet, really. So yeah, there's been a few off matches here and there that showed her potential, but yeah, it's been odd, especially when ever improving Nikki Bella and her just can't seem to ever get it together either. But
and Naomi has so much potential, but she's so sloppy.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of ways to go for her.
I feel bad for that crop that came up before the NXT thing, 'cause it really would have done them a lot of good. It might not be the worst idea to take somebody like Naomi, who clearly has potential, and just stick her in NXT for a year. Now, I don't know if she's that's hard to swallow your pride, because you've been on the main roster for 4 years now or whatever it is. She's been around a while. The whole Funkadactyl
yeah, 3-4 years at that point. Yeah,
are people willing to swallow their pride and go down there and learn and get better? I don't know, but I mean that wouldn't be the worst thing for somebody like that. I mean, I think some of the main roster girls, there's no hope. I mean, Summer Rae is always going to be terrible. Right. Tamina is like pushing 40 at this point. Not really, but she's definitely over 30, right? I mean, there's just nothing there with her.
I think early to mid 30s.
She stinks, and there's no upside. And Summer Rae is the classic newborn baby deer. or newborn baby giraffe who can't even stand upright half the time.
Yeah, just no athleticism.
She's just
whatsoever.
terrible. But someone like Naomi, you could stick her and
Absolutely. I think
what about the other
she's
Funkadactyl?
raw.
She's the worst too. She has no hope.
Whatever the hell her. I don't even. She's not even around. I haven't even seen her in a while. What the hell's
just
her?
Keep her around for Total Divas, I think.
The hell is her name now? I can't.
Cameron,
I know her. Cameron. Is that
No hope. No
Adriana or what? I forgot. I go by
her gimmick name's Cameron.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you for thinking her name's because she gets more. She gets
I
push
know
on
her more
Total
from being
Divas.
Total Divas. Yeah.
But I mean, she stinks too. There's no hope. But someone like Naomi, there's some upside there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
She's got it. It just needs to be molded, and I don't know if it ever can on the main. I don't think there's going to be enough time on the main roster, or enough opportunities on the main roster to really do that. Yeah, she would benefit from that a lot, but that's gonna be tough. We'll move on here. Kevin Owens, John Cena. We talked about that at length. We both loved that, and not much more to say on that. Neville versus Bo Dallas. This was kept quick. It was a little under 9 minutes.
So bad.
It was not very good. No.
Bo Dallas thinks, and he did the same thing on Raw. Bo Dallas seems to think, I think he's watched a lot of his father's tapes, because Bo Dallas seems to think that it's 1986 and he's working a house show in the Cap Center in Washington, D.C., or Boston Gardens, or Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens, or the Philly Spectrum, or MSG, or the LA Sports Arena.
Or he was trained in NXT/FCW, and this is the what you get.
I mean, he thinks he's Butch Reed in 1986 working a house show with these nonstop rest holds that don't get heat anymore. Give it up, guys. It doesn't work. It just does not get crowd heat anymore. I'm not going on that rant again because that started the whole Stardust thing. Several months back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how Bo Dallas works, and it sucks, and his matches all suck as a result. And how do you make Neville boring? Well, you're Bo Dallas. That's how.
Yeah. You ground him and you don't ever let him do anything except for at the end. Yeah, I thought Neville did a good job here. And, for me, though, the problem, and you mentioned it again with the rest holds and all that sort of stuff, Neville selling for Bo Dallas for as long as he did was just so silly. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, when you look at the trajectories of the two guys, this should have been Neville coming in and in a minute beating this guy and then walking away and just saying whatever. I mean, you're not going to resurrect anything with Bo Dallas anymore. There's no point in having a back and forth 10-minute match like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's some times where we talk about objectives. Again, we get to the objectives. What is the objective of this match? Is to get Neville over? Just get through it. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need 10 minutes.
It's these heels need to evolve and get with the times. You can't. Your heat segments can't be these long. He put him in a cravat for felt like an hour. Just come on. You got to evolve and I'm not going to say the magic. You got to.
Well, yeah.
Wrestling progresses and moves forward, Rich. They got to change with the times. All right, I snuck it in there. Let's move on.
All right, there it goes. Okay. Speaking of not getting with the times, the Intercontinental Championship Elimination Chamber match, the vacant title, Ryback, your new champion, defeating R-Truth, Sheamus, King Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, and the returning Mark Henry, who was a face here and then a heel the next night on Raw, because they don't remember.
That's what Mark Henry do or does.
Yeah.
Is he grammatically correct with that catchphrase or no?
No, but that's all right.
He is. That's what I do. That's grammatically. Is
that what he says?
He say because that's I don't know.
I don't care.
That's what I do. Isn't that his big thing? He's gonna split wigs or something.
Yeah, he splits wigs for sure.
He definitely splits wigs.
I mean, someone is gonna get their wig split for sure.
That's gonna happen. Yeah, for sure. But my brother is gonna get his wig split if he keeps taking these TMZ photos of Mark Henry at the grocery store. But Mark Henry's going to get angry.
What does Mark Henry buy at the grocery store other than like meat? I imagine just lots of meat.
I picture a lot of
meat and milk, and just that's it.
Maybe like black hair care products.
Okay.
I mean, he's a black guy, right? I assume.
Yeah, you go to a better place than a grocery store for that, right?
I'm just saying, maybe that's.
Yeah, I don't think he goes to a grocery store.
I don't know.
Nah, I think he goes somewhere else.
Like, where's he going? Like Ice Cube's barbershop?
Well, no, we have a lot of like, and I don't know if it's that way in Texas or whatever. Where I'm at, there's a lot of like, like hair and braid stores and beauty stores or whatever that are very much
shaved head.
Right now, yeah, I think so. I forgot.
He doesn't need black hair care.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe in the dreads days. No, he's returning the stuff that he had when he had his dreads. So, what are we talking about? This match was terrible.
The match was bad. There's nothing really to say here. Ryback won. Ryan 33 was your big winner here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was
Daniel Bryan pathetically tried to get his heat on Ryback. To be fair, Ryback's slightly over right now, so I'm not totally upset with that move of having Ryback win it. But it's just when this was over, it was just like, oh god, like mercifully. And this went 25 minutes.
There's people that are in there.
25.
25 excruciating minutes.
It was like 10 minutes in, and one of my dogs wanted to go outside. So I said, you know what, Michelle, here, I'm going to go walk outside. Let me know what happens when this match is over, whatever. I come back in. We went around the block, back and forth, whatever. And I came back in, and I said, this thing's still going on? And I said, what happened when I left? And she went, nothing really. And I went, no, something had to have happened. And I look on Twitter, and everyone's just like, oh, God, nothing's happening. I'm like, oh, okay. I couldn't believe it. I left 12 minutes in, and I came back, and, I still had 6 minutes left to go before this thing was over. It was unbelievable.
It's funny. Owens and Cena did too much in their sub 20-minute match. But then you had this piece of shit that went on for over 25 minutes. I wish they would have done something. People complain, oh, they did too much. I wish these guys would have did too much.
Joe, I don't even know how to highlight this match. What was something you remember from this match?
Here's what I remember from this match. Here's what I remember. They didn't do too much, and that was a problem. I wish they would have done too much. That's my takeaway from this match. Please, I'm begging you to do too much. Please.
And what is your theory on what happened to Sheamus when he was locked in the pod? That's the big thing right now, because the announcers are so fucking awful that they can't possibly get any story over or talk about anything related to the match. Nobody had any clue what was going on, why he was stuck in there. Apparently he tried to get stuck in there, like he put his cross in there. I didn't know. I walked away for a second and came back, and he's banging on the door, and the announcers are laughing about something.
I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, nobody.
I haven't put any extra thought into it, and the match just stunk. I don't know. I have nothing else to add here. I mean, I know that you're doing a radio show. You're supposed to have a take even when there's no take.
I can't. I got nothing.
But I don't have anything here.
All right, so we'll move on to the main event. I'm right with you. I don't even know if I picked a GIF when we were doing the review here. I just think I left it and just said, okay, never mind, forget it, because there was just nothing. Senior Lariato had nothing to even GIF. That's why I went back and I was like, okay, like nothing. There's zero in this match. Joe, I have no idea what to even bring up, so we're not even going to bring it up. We're going to move on. Main event here, WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Dean Ambrose defeating Seth Rollins by DQ, so he doesn't win the title. A little dusty finish, the return of the dusty finish. Joe, what were your thoughts on this match and the finish of Dean Ambrose hinting towards a title win, but then, of course, just winning by DQ, and the title does not change hands?
I thought this was a very well-worked match.
Yeah,
the problem
was really good.
The problem is I don't care about a single person involved in this. I don't care about Ambrose. I don't care about Seth Rollins. I don't care about Kane or Jamie Noble or Joey Mercury or Triple H or Stephanie McMahon. I don't care about the Authority. I just zone out when anything Authority related comes on the screen. I'm not into it. It's not a storyline meant for me. I don't know who it's meant for. I don't know who enjoys this shit. It's not what I enjoy in my wrestling. There's a lot of things this company's doing. We spoke at length about Kevin Owens. There's a lot of cool things going on in NXT. I like the re-enhanced tag division. The Authority, I just don't care. And, when I watch Raw on my DVR, as soon as anything Authority related hits the screen, I go right to that fast forward button. I just don't care. I can't get in any.
There's just no juice. Yeah, it's got nothing right now. And the only time that the Authority, and it was a few years ago where they legitimately had something there, or at least something that people were interested in, is the Daniel Bryan thing. Because we mentioned the Kevin Owens thing. There was some reality rooted in that Daniel Bryan felt that he wasn't getting his due, and that the quote Authority was holding him back because he was too small and he wasn't the look or whatever. And that's fine. It works for that. It works for that point, because that's something that you can kind of suspend your disbelief and say, yeah, fuck that. WWE management doesn't get that Daniel Bryan's a star. But I don't believe that for 1 second about Dean Ambrose. I don't even know what the hell their story is right now, other than they're kind of protecting Seth Rollins, sort of, and I don't even know why they're doing it. It's just there's nothing there. There's no juice to the heel Authority thing. It's so over. It's we've been saying this for 7 years now, 8, 9, 10. I mean, you can go on forever that this thing is just. But yeah, I'm right with you too. There's just no juice in anything that involves the Authority. Mostly because these matches, you're not getting anything definitive.
No, you're going to get Kane and J&J interfering. It's just not my thing.
Well, and especially this, which. To be fair, this is Elimination Chamber, and we talked at length about how this was the good thing for WWE to do, is to have these specials and do these sort of things. And we knew this was going to be a bridge to that next month, a bridge to Money in the Bank or whatever. So the goal was build up Money in the Bank, so I can't be too upset with it. But yeah, it was hard to really get into it, even though it was a well-worked match, because it was just you knew at the end it wasn't going to be worth your time was going to. and that's the thing with all these, in the past 2 months where it's been, oh, how is Kane going to interfere? And it's when you're watching these 18-minute matches, there's no point because nothing that happens in minute 10 is going to matter when it's over. You know what I mean? And this match immediately was over, and now 7-8 days later, what was accomplished in it? Why did I watch that? There was nothing.
You know what the authority is? I'm going to tell you what the authority is and why it won't go away. Because you're right, it did serve a purpose with the Daniel Bryan thing. And it did serve a purpose. They had their paper champion with Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan eventually was going to, and Daniel Bryan won in the end because he won the title at WrestleMania, and they told, and it really should have ended there. But what the authority is, Vince McMahon struck a chord, the $1 billion chord, 15 years ago or whatever it was, with the working class people who predominantly watch wrestling, who were able to relate to Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon because they all hated their job and they all hated their boss. They all hated the man, and they really nailed it with that story. And they really hit an emotional chord with their fan base with the Mr. McMahon thing. And Vince McMahon has been trying to recreate that magic for the last 15 to 18 years, which is why these heel authority figures never go away. It worked once, and Vince is still being stubborn and trying to go back to that well.
Yeah.
What worked 15 years ago might not work 15 years later. What worked 20 years ago might not work 20 years later. And we've seen this pattern with Vince McMahon. He hit it big with Hulk Hogan, with the superhero babyface. And what has he been trying to recreate ever since Hulk Hogan? Whether it was with Lex Luger, whether it's with John Cena, whether it's with Bobby Lashley, you can go right down the line. He's been trying to recreate the superhero mega babyface. And that's his pattern. He finds something that works, and it's one of his weaknesses, actually. Because he does have weaknesses. He has a lot of weaknesses to go along with a lot of his strengths. But he tries to recreate things to the point ad nauseum if they work once. And that's what the authority is. It's Mr. McMahon reincarnated, like all of these heel authority figures are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm over it in general. I mean, there's nothing more you could really say there. But yeah, we'll kind of preaching to the choir there. I think everybody's pretty well over that now, and it's a wrestling thing in general. It's very it's just bizarre. And again, it's like you said, the Attitude Era came and went, and everybody said, "Oh my God!" and everybody made so much money, and that people just think that that's kind of how it has to be. And what's funny is, and we talk about this all the time, where you and I grew up a little bit before the Attitude Era, saw some stuff. You obviously were way ahead of the Attitude Era, and we're watching, and that's not an old joke, Joe. Don't worry. I'm just but there's kids who grow up that's just how wrestling is. Think about that. From 1998 until the present, you've just always had that. Okay, and we're back. I was ranting about heel authority figures or something, and then we got disconnected. But now we've updated Skype, and I believe this will be our last episode we ever record on Skype, because I think you and I have about had enough of the Skype issues. But either way, we're going to try and see how this works, and hopefully formulate some type of good show out of this. So, Joe, any other thoughts on Elimination Chamber before we move on? No, I didn't think so. Samoa Joe, the much talked about, the much discussed, the very awesome progressive Samoa Joe contract is no more. He signed an official WWE deal. He's going to take dates, Independence, or he's going to fulfill the dates that he already did for Independence, but after August, that's all done, and then he's a full-time WWE guy. So the Joe touring the Indies thing, unfortunately, it lasted, what, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, and I think he has bookings through August.
Yeah, through I believe the beginning to middle of August, and then after that it's all over.
Yeah, so it looks like the ROH deal with Destination America is what prompted this. So
yes, which is interesting because some people have talked about us included, that Samoa Joe, it seemed like he knew this was coming and that his tweets sort of mentioned that. And we even mentioned last week that we thought maybe Triple H knew something about this, that maybe they did, and maybe it was a long time coming and these guys knew ahead of time. Dave Meltzer reports that this kind of caught everybody by surprise. It caught WWE by surprise. Joe, I'm not so much sure, but who do you think knew about this deal? And did everybody think this was just going to be kind of okay for a while? Or did Joe think that WWE wouldn't mind? Or did it catch him by surprise too? Because I'm not entirely sure who knew what and what they did.
I'm still convinced he knew. But apparently we were wrong. That I mean, it caught everyone else by. You look at his tweets; I'm convinced he knew.
I agree. It was too ominous. It was too ominous the day before, saying we're going to change the way this game is. I agree.
The day before, he was saying things like, "If you think things are crazy now, what do you see about tomorrow?" Things like that. So but whatever. WWE apparently didn't know, and they don't now that ROH is on national TV. I guess they could have told him don't work for ROH, but I guess the language of whatever contract he had, maybe they couldn't, go back and just specify. I don't know. I mean, I guess wouldn't ROH fall under other national television companies?
Yeah, at that point, yes. Yeah, I think it's TV syndication is fine for them. Maybe they were going to say, hey, whatever, do a few shows here and there or whatever. We kind of knew there was a shelf life to it regardless. Once he got over, it was going to be over. But yeah, in this respect, though, I think once they got national TV, okay, now you're a national competitor, and that speaks volumes to what we're going to talk about here in a little bit of them being a true, at this point, number 2 promotion, where WWE goes, okay, no, we can't have, one of our stars on national TV, getting over, large in some ways based off what we did. So yeah, we knew it was going to come at some point, but it just got accelerated a lot by the Ring of Honor news.
Combined with the fact that NXT needs stars if they're going to tour, combined with the fact that his T-shirt sold out, within a matter of hours. I guess they just figured all those things together. We might as well just get the guy signed. So
yeah, just forget it. Get rid of the formalities and stuff. And yeah, I mean, we're looking at it now with Kevin Owens, on the fast track to the WWE roster. That Joe now is an important position. Before it was kind of you had time for him. Now you know what? Hey, it's kind of let's get going. I mean, if the guy's a draw and is selling T-shirts or whatever, no reason to dick around with it. Just debut him and have him go.
He could be the face of that touring brand. Right. At this point. So, that's probably what they're planning. I mean, look, we talked last week. Look, this wasn't going to last. Eventually they were going to sign the guy. So, and it didn't even last a week. So,
yeah. So that's good news for him. Hey, he settled down in a nice easy job. And I'm sure the money was good too, because if he's going to turn down all the bookings and all that sort of stuff and just stay in one spot or whatever, I'm sure it was good stuff. So good for him. Hey, that's good. And he looks super motivated and he's ready to go. So any other WWE thoughts before we move on?
No.
I got nothing either. All right, ROH, Destination America, the debut of the Wednesday Night Wars. You had Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, TNA. What did you watch? What did you like? And then we have a little bit of ratings talk, which will be the much discussed and much publicized ratings talk that we'll get into here in a little bit. But before we get to that, what did you watch? What did you enjoy? And what did you not like?
Well, I didn't watch Lucha Underground.
I skipped Lucha Underground as well, unfortunately. So
because
we will not have coverage of that. Though I do want to talk about Lucha Underground later in the show, if possible.
Well, I didn't set my DVR properly, and it recorded, Destination America instead. I don't know what the hell happened there. So I had to move some things around, and everything will get recorded properly next week, but I didn't record Lucha Underground. I'll have to watch it on demand. But I did watch Ring of Honor, and I did watch TNA. I never watched NXT that night.
I forgot NXT.
I can watch that later. That's on demand.
Yeah, that's to me, NXT, I don't think I've ever, since I've stopped reviewing it for the website, now it's a one where I let maybe one or two of them pile up. Yeah. Maybe it's a Sunday, something like that. It's always just a random day. I just do not even remember that it's on live anymore. When it's on, it's on, but I don't go out of my way to, it doesn't matter. You can watch it on a Thursday, you can watch it on a Sunday, you can watch it on a Saturday. It really does not matter. I
just watch it in the middle of the night, or like you said, I'll let a couple pile up and then binge watch them. NXT's a nice, easy watch, and it always leaves me wanting more anyway, so I don't mind watching 2 or 3 in a row. It's a nice.
Sure, it's pretty fun to kind of go to the right to the next one.
Yeah, it's
right when you're done.
It's a nice, easy watch.
It's good.
Whereas Lucha Underground, I enjoy the show, and I think the matches are great. But man, sometimes I'm exhausted when that show's over.
I do a lot of binge watching Lucha Underground as well, and especially this past month because I was really behind. So I watched basically their last 4 or 5 shows in a big chunk, and they had a really good run there. And I don't think we didn't really do a good enough job talking about it. Maybe that's just because we're not really following it, as live as we probably would like to, or at least I know I'm not, but they had a real good run there of 3 or 4 shows that were just spectacular, really, really good shows where everybody, you can tell the wrestling is really rounding into form in a lot of ways, and it's really propping the show a lot. I mean, there's still the drama elements, there's still, a monster in the room and all that sort of stuff, but the pure wrestling on those shows were really good. Those trios ladder matches, the death match with Mil Mortes and Phoenix or Phoenix or whatever, were fantastic.
Phoenix.
Just a really good run. Is it Phoenix officially? I know
say it like the city. It's Phoenix.
Okay.
Don't let the spelling throw you off. Just Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Phoenix.
That's good. That's what I'm gonna do. But no, they've had a really good run as of late.
Here's the thing with Lucha Underground. I love the matches. They're just mind-numbing spot fests a lot of times. I don't mind that.
They do too much, goddammit. Stop it, Angelico. Stop doing too much.
Stop being exciting. Stop entertaining me. So I really love the matches. The thing with Lucha Underground, though, and it's going to annoy people, but look, Rich, we tell it like it is around here. I totally tune out the storyline stuff now. It's turned me off. I'm not interested in monsters in cages. I'm not interested in monsters eating bail. I'm not interested in Mil Muertes and his goofy valet and her licking people's faces. I just don't care. I watch the matches. I enjoy the matches. I love the matches, actually. I love the action on the show. I love they got Jack Evans in the mix now. I hope he teams up with Angelico at some point, because I really love that tag team they have down in Mexico in AAA that some of our Lucha buddies turned me on to a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think that Angelico has the potential to be a breakout megastar.
Absolutely. That's something I gathered over those last 4 weeks is, wow, this guy, I mean, just rapidly, becoming one of my favorites.
If he doesn't win Best
show.
Flyer in the Observer,
he's done.
I demand an investigation.
If Kota Ibushi wins, and I love Kota, if Ricochet wins / Prince Puma, no. That's your guy.
That's the guy who needs to win.
The guy who jumps off the top of the building and does a missile drop kick from about 50 feet away, whatever the hell that thing was just unbelievable.
I mean, he's doing flying that's so dynamic and so amazing. He has to win.
Yeah, he's already my vote. No, nobody could possibly. I don't know what anybody could do.
Even
at this point
among the own competition on his show, where everybody's fantastic,
he stands out
among that show. The guy's phenomenal. I mean, he's groundbreaking, is what he is. This is a special flyer, and he's doing special things right now. And shame on us for not noticing. But the fact of the matter is, the way that the temple set up is allowing him to be this dynamic, jumping off the top of the office, and I mean, this guy is something else. So I mean, the action on the show is great. I'm totally turned off by some of the storylines, though. I don't know. I'm gotten to the point where, and here's the other thing I'm tired of. And I got into it with some people on Twitter about this. I'm getting real sick and tired of people saying that Lucha Underground is not a wrestling show. It's a television drama about wrestling. Bullshit. When the show stops having matches, when I stop seeing wrestling matches, referees, 3 counts, title belts, commentators, and every ropes, a ring, and everything else that's associated with wrestling, then I'll say it's not a wrestling show. Okay? Let's not try to make this any more than what it is. Lucha Underground is a wrestling show. Okay? It's a wrestling show with fancy cutscenes. That's all it is. Okay? I'm not saying that the backstage stuff and the cutscenes aren't well done. We've said it a million times. They're the most well done cutscenes in the history of wrestling. They're tremendous. Content aside, which the content has started to turn me off.
Yeah, I think production in general is the best we've probably ever seen in wrestling.
Of these
it's the best I've ever seen of any. In terms of lighting, the way it's lit, the theme of the lighting, the theme of the camera work, just the way everything works is and undoubtedly it was going to be that. We knew that going in, it was going to be that.
Yeah, I mean, but to tell me it's not a wrestling show, I mean, right down to the heel authority figure. I mean, can we stop with that? Right. Okay, look, Dario Cueto's great, and he's part of what makes these cutscenes great because the guy's a tremendous actor and he plays the role to perfection. I'll never stop telling you how much I love Cueto. Okay, and I'll never stop telling you how great the production is. But let's stop making it something it isn't. It's not Mad Men. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not a television drama. It's a wrestling show.
Yeah, and once we stop having a ring announcer, ropes, and a ring, and yeah,
It's a wrestling show. What's wrong with these people?
I get you.
Rich, these people are mental. It's a wrestling
I'm with you.
show. I mean, it's a wrestling show with fancy cutscenes. That's all it is. The only difference between Lucha Underground and Raw is earth tones and better production on the cutscenes. That's it.
Yes.
It's the same fucking thing. It's the same structure, and more adult themes. Slightly more adult. It's an adult Chikara, is what it is. It's a fucking wrestling show.
Yep.
Okay, so can we stop with that, please? Stop making it something it isn't.
Yeah, and you could like that aspect too, because I think one of the things
you don't look. If you like the dramatic aspects of it, great. I can see why you do.
Yeah, but it's not a drama that has wrestling. It's wrestling that has drama.
Exactly. In fact, I wouldn't even look. It's the same formula as Impact and Raw. It's just better. It's just the production's better.
Right, and the writing it doesn't make you. It's decent writing too.
Yeah,
it's long term. It's well written. Whereas Raw and it's just not that.
Yeah, but
Raw and Impact are not well written anymore.
Formula wise, it's identical.
Right,
it's no different. It's just in some aspects of it are better done. That's all. And it's real, and they play spooky music while Cueto's talking.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they play that in between cutscenes.
I mean, come on. But other than that, geez, it's a wrestling show. Please.
Whereas you said that the stories, I haven't totally tuned out those stories yet. I'm not into them as much as I am. For me, the big thing is, okay, get to the match. Like, sometimes those things go a little long. I'm like, all right, let's move it on. But I still think they're important to kind of tell the story of what's going on in the ring. And I think with certain characters, they still work. But I think, and that's a big reason why I said like that the last kind of month or so has really done it for me, is because it seems like there's been less emphasis on the backstage drama stuff. I mean, obviously you still have the brother in the ring, the brother in the room who's going to eat them. You have all that stuff, whatever. But I think when you get down to it, the wrestling has really stepped up in the past, maybe 6-7 shows or whatever. I think the wrestling and everybody and the guys and the roster, and they've really rounded into the form of, okay, who are the guys that are the best here? Who are the featured ones? They've hit that stride, absolutely, and that's, to me, what that's done is it's made me less focused on the stories and less focused on the drama, because look, I'm looking forward to the wrestling now, whereas sometimes it was, okay, the wrestling's okay and these stories are really good. Now the stories are good, but the wrestling is phenomenal, so I'm kind of tuning out of the stories because I just want to get to the damn wrestling. So I'm less of you, where it's not turn off for me, but it's not turn on. I'm kind of, I'll go in the other room and then come back when the wrestling starts.
Yeah, and I mean, the booking is as good as the wrestling.
Yes.
In terms of, except in one instance. But look, I'll get to that in a second. But the booking,
the Pentagon, yeah,
the booking is tremendous in terms of clearly laying out who the top people are, clearly having a plan, and then following up on the plans. You can't rip. The booking is great. I would go as far as to say the booking is great. Now, I think they blew it with Pentagon.
Absolutely,
I really do. He lost too soon and to the wrong person, and. If you think that's coming from a sexist place, blow it out your ass and turn the podcast off. It has nothing, because let me tell you something. If you think that's coming from a sexist place, Rich, I used to write the reviews for this show, correct? For our website.
Yeah, you did indeed.
On this show or in any of my reviews, have I ever complained about Sexy Star, Evilise, or anybody else?
No, I mean, they're all great.
Let me finish my point.
Go ahead.
Have I ever complained?
Well, you were asking me a question and I answered
Have I ever complained about either one of those people beating any other man?
No.
Not once, right?
Never.
Okay, so anyone who thinks this is coming from a sexist place, here's your disclaimer. Go fuck yourself. Turn the podcast off. I'm not dealing with it. In this instance, I'm not even humoring you. I'm not dealing with that shit here. But what I'm saying to you here, Sexy Star was the wrong person to beat Pentagon Jr., and it was the wrong time to beat Pentagon Jr.
Yeah, the time for me was the biggest thing. Even her, even no matter who it was, I thought the time was not good. I think if there was anybody that was going to beat him, it would have had to been just one of the big monsters. Like he could not have been any lesser people. I don't think could have beat him. And I don't mean lesser. I mean that counts Sexy Star, that counts Phoenix, that counts any of the little guys, any of the high fly. None of those. And if you want to have Mil Muertes beat him, okay, whatever. I'd listen to that. But any of the other guys, it would have been ridiculous.
And in terms of the hardcore fan, and really that's all that's watching the show. Mm-hmm. No one else is watching the show. In terms of the hardcore fan, you could argue he was the hottest act in the company at one point.
Oh, certainly. There's
so many parallels to the way that they've treated Pentagon Jr. to the way that WWE has treated Rusev, that there's a lot of parallels there. Rusev lost to the wrong guy at the wrong time. Pentagon Jr. lost to the wrong person at the wrong time. And even if you wanted it to be Sexy Star, I don't think Sexy Star got as much out of it as she could have.
No, she didn't really get
because
much out of it
she beat
either.
him too soon. He should have
Yeah.
fucking destroyed her for months.
There was no climb. It was just kind of
She should have beat him on their, the big, season-ending show or whatever they're doing if that's the route they wanted to go. Now, personally, I think she's the wrong person anyway. Look, Sexy Star, I got news for people. She's never going to happen. Sexy Star is not a star. I don't mean that to be ironic or anything else. She's not a star. Sexy Star is not going to happen. She's the wrong person for that role. I just don't see her breaking out in any way. And, we're going under the presumption that the show is going to continue and grow. And if all those things happen and they get better TV, she will never be a major star in that show. I'm sorry. She just doesn't have it. She doesn't have the charisma.
Yeah. What do you think about Ivelisse, though? I like her a lot.
I love Ivelisse.
Yeah, I think she's great.
She's great in her role. She's a tremendous wrestler. I was a big fan of hers before Lucha Underground. I used to rave about Ivelisse. The problem with her is supposedly she's a real pain in the ass backstage for any company that she's in. And she's like a mental case, and she's a big problem in the back, and people think she's nuts. But in terms of what a fan sees, I think she's tremendous. Do I think she's a top star? I don't know. I'd have to see her as a babyface. I think she's a natural heel. But Sexy Star was the wrong person to be Pentagon Jr., and it happened way too soon. I mean, and now, he was the hottest act in the company. You could argue that he's getting indie bookings now. You're going to see him live in Chicago.
I am indeed. Yes, I did.
And let me tell you something. He's a big reason people were excited when they announced that match. People were DMing us to go buy them tickets.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we had to scramble.
This up.
We had to go to a second location. There's a record store that's selling tickets, and we had a guy that went to one location, and he said, "Oh, guy, they don't have tickets." And then AEW sent out a tweet, "Oh, this location doesn't have any more. Go to this one." It was like madness because people were scrambling, and that's the only announced match so far. Those are the only guys that were announced so far. So
Prince Puma, Phoenix, Mil Muertes. All right, good. I get it. Cage. I have no problem pushing those, but I don't think they ever intended to push Pentagon hard. But they lucked into it, so
they got it. Yeah.
Ride it, man. And look, I know these things are taped way in advance. Maybe they do see that. Maybe if there is a second season, they're going to say, look, we got to do something with this Pentagon Jr. guy.
True, yeah.
Because maybe, we have to remember, this isn't week to week. This was taped well in advance. So I'll cut him a break there. But I just that whole feud with Sexy Star is such a lousy feud. And if it wasn't in such a lower profile company where the business aspects of it don't matter as much, that would be my worst feud of the year, not Cena Rusev. But because Cena Rusev
just the damage
has huge financial impacts, in my opinion, that has to be my worst feud of the year. But this Pentagon Jr. Sexy Star feud is right on its heels. That was just a bad job the way that was laid out.
All right, so let's move on here to the Ring of Honor TNA Destination America. Obviously they have their back-to-back shows. It's the debut of the Ring of Honor show, which I thought was an okay show. The card, the card when I first read it was like, ugh, that's that's how you're going to debut. It turned out to be pretty good though. It was a solid show, like most Ring of Honor is. It's never offensive. It sometimes can border on kind of dull, but it never gets bad. It's always somewhere between dull, okay, average, and good. And that's fine. You're okay with that. Sometimes you get a spectacular match here and there. I don't think there was anything spectacular on this show, but everything was solid. Everything was good, even if it didn't have. They got a lot of the top stars, and one of the big things too I thought was the build to Best in the World with Jay Briscoe and Jay Lethal. I thought they did a great job building that throughout the show, and that was the kind of the theme of the show. So mission accomplished there. It wasn't, on paper, it wasn't the greatest show that they've ever done, and it might not have been the greatest debut, but overall, I thought the show was fine. It was okay. And one point that you mentioned on Twitter that I thought was important, and Aaron Bentley mentioned it in our review as well, that's on the website, voiceofwrestling.com, is that they didn't do the reset, where a lot of times when you get a new TV show or companies do that all the time, is they'll say, okay, this is our debut on Destination America. We need to reset and let everybody know, okay, here's every character, and here's what this company is. Ring of Honor just said, hey, if you're going to seek us out, you probably already know who we are. If you don't, we'll catch up quick. Find a way. It's whatever. We're just going to keep going for our devoted fans, or we're not going to stop and dumb it down for them. We're going to go full steam ahead, and if you want to catch up, you're smart enough to catch up. And I thought that was good. I thought it was a good move.
Completely agree. Wrestling companies never give people credit. Look, both times that they got TV, first HDNet in 2009, and then later on when they ended up on Sinclair. When they got on HDNet, both times they did what I like to call a soft reset. When they got on HDNet, Adam Pearce was in charge, and he slowed all the storylines down to a crawl, and they slowly introduced all the characters on television, and then once they established everybody, they got back to doing angles. Same thing when Sinclair put him on TV. I believe it was Cornette at the time, and I believe he publicly said, "Look, we have to stop doing angles for a while because we got to make sure we establish everything to all these new viewers."
Yeah, he said what month? He put like some 6 months, I think he said.
Yes,
we need to, yeah.
And I completely disagree
Agree.
with that train of thought. Look, the viewers will catch up. If you're presenting a good product, the viewers will catch up, and all you're doing by doing that kind of soft reset and slowing things down is presenting a less desirable show for people to walk in, because let them jump in the middle. They'll catch you. We're not stupid. People aren't dumb.
Yeah.
People aren't dumb. Anybody who watched Ring of Honor for the very first time this week, and they didn't do anything special. They threw on the same show that they aired this week in syndication. They did nothing different, nothing special. Anybody who watched Ring of Honor for the first time this week has a great feel for what Jay Briscoe is and what he's all about. They totally get his gimmick. They totally see that he's a champion. He won his match, and they totally get what Jay Lethal is all about, and that he holds the other title, and he feels like his title's more important, and they totally get that he's a heel, and you totally got the idea that these two guys hate each other's guts and are going to settle it on the pay-per-view. There was no need to do any kind of reset or hit the reset button or slowly introduce character. There's no need for that. And anybody who watched it, especially if they've been a wrestling fan for a long time, they get it. We're not stupid. It doesn't take 6 months to figure out who Jay Briscoe is. It took 60 minutes. 60 minutes to figure out who Jay Briscoe is.
Hell, I'll say it took 3 minutes. Whatever the opening promo I thought was enough.
I mean, we don't need that.
The show kicked off, and 5 minutes in, I went, okay, yep, that's the Briscoes. So there you go.
So yeah, absolutely resets.
Well, one thing that's kind of interesting, and it's funny because people bring that up, and people will argue that Cornette said 6 months, and other guys will do it. Think about when you first started watching wrestling. When I jumped in, I had no fucking clue who any of these people were, but that was cool. I like that aspect of it. That's something I miss. And why I always try to seek out new wrestling, because that was the most fun period of becoming a wrestling fan, is that every time I turned it on, I didn't know I didn't know who these new characters were. I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know what these motivations were. I had to piece stuff together. I had to watch to get that. That was fun to me. That was my best time being a wrestling fan, is when I first really kind of got hardcore into it. And I said, oh crap, I didn't even have the internet at that point. Or if I did, I had it at the library or whatever. I had to go find books or whatever and do research. And at the library, I would look up, who are these guys? Where did they come from? How old? That's fun to me. I think that's fun. And I think wrestling fans, if you just jumped into Ring of Honor and you weren't sure who these guys were, like you said, who Jay Briscoe, who Jay Lethal is. If you want to figure out who Silas Young is, you can do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing it, or just watch the show. Sometimes people just like turning it off, or like you said, you always say with a lot of the Impact viewers, sometimes they just like turning on their TV and just watching.
Yeah.
And just letting the story come to them as it goes. You know what I mean? Like,
you think Moose got over this week? Did we need a video package explaining who he was? Do you think he got over this week? I'd say Moose got over pretty well this week without a video package hammering home who he is.
Right. Or somebody saying, this is Moose. He destroys people. Veda Scott cutting a promo about, he didn't need that.
I mean, he got over just fine. And what they did, he got over, beating the shit out of Colby Corino. He worked just fine. If you want to know more about Moose, you go to ROHWrestling.com and you'll learn more.
And that's what I mean. I think that exploration is fine. I think that's fine. I think you want people to explore.
I mean, this idea that wrestling fans need to be hit over the head with everything, it's got to go away. You don't. I mean, okay, maybe in the Netflix era, this isn't as prominent, but, how many times have you jumped in the middle of a season on a television show, or jumped in during the third season? It takes you 2 or 3 episodes and you know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't need, television shows don't, reset everything, at the start of a new season. No, it's your job as a viewer to catch up. If you heard that some particular show was very good and you jumped in season 2, they're not going to reset it for you. It's your job to catch up, and you will. It's not. Look, we're not sending rockets to the moon here. It's
we're booking wrestling.
Hey, it's pro wrestling. This
good, bad.
Good, bad. This guy doesn't like that guy. This guy's a champion. This guy wants his title. It's really, it's fucking, it's not that complicated, people. So anyway, yeah, but. They didn't debut with the greatest episode I've ever seen. I mean, it was a pretty average episode. In fact, I thought it was one of the lousier episodes of Ring of Honor that I've seen in the last couple of months. But look, what are you going to do? We know that they've got some really good ones coming up.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, they really got Briscoe and the Briscoe Lethal match over very well on this show. Very well. So they did push their pay-per-view. They pushed their pay-per-view much better than TNA did the same night. TNA still doesn't have a match. I mean, they still
you wouldn't know that they had a pay-per-view. You would not know they had a pay-per-view coming up.
You really wouldn't. I mean, they ran a couple bumpers for it, but I mean, they still haven't announced a match. I mean, and to be fair, there's nothing TNA can put together with the way their roster is currently constructed that would be even half as interesting as Briscoe Lethal. Briscoe Lethal is a very interesting match.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's what's fun about that, and that's a discussion we'll have. We'll obviously have a lengthier discussion as we get a little bit closer. But yeah, the big thing is, okay, it's at that point now where it's like, I don't know who can lose this match, and both guys can win, both guys can lose, and that's when it's the best, is when you can legitimately say, hey, there's a really good chance that Jay Lethal wins this, and there's a really good chance Jay Lethal loses. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's key. Like, I really don't know. I'm going into that not having a single clue, not having a good feel for who's going to win, and that's perfect. When you can do that, you've won.
Jay Lethal has been one of the 10 most interesting wrestlers in the world this year, and I'd hate to see him lose. At the same time, though, I don't know if he's ready to win a match like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, there's just a lot of intrigue there. And
there you go. Yeah, now you got to watch it, right? You got to watch it live too.
And this Jay Briscoe, let me tell you, I've always.
I never thought he had the potential to be as good as he is in this role.
Yeah, I've always been a fan to some extent, and like you said, I think we were all a little skeptical when they gave him the singles ball years ago. But I mean, when I watch this guy, I was watching this tag match. And, they're wrestling Jay Diesel and you're going to have to help me.
Donovan Dijak or whatever. I can never pronounce the last name. I can't pronounce
this dude's name. But
Double D. We'll call him old Double D.
It's unfortunate that the first Ring of Honor show on Destination America was headlined by Jay Diesel and then Double D.
Yeah, and Double D, yeah.
But I'm watching this tag match against these two guys who aren't very good. Or at least Diesel's not very good. The other guy, I have to be fair, I really should probably see a little more of him. I've only seen him 3 or 4 times before I make a judgment on him. But Diesel, I know is not a guy that I like very much. And it's like I'm watching Jay Briscoe, and Mark is good too. But I'm watching Jay Briscoe, and it just dawns on me, and I think I tweeted it. Jay Briscoe is the kind of guy where in 100 years, when we're all dead and long gone, people are going to go back and watch Jay Briscoe, and they're going to openly wonder why he's not considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's that good.
Yeah, he's great.
His offense, he has some of the best offense in wrestling, the crispest, most realistic looking offense in wrestling. He projects his character, obviously, to levels that most people do not. You get the idea. You can easily suspend disbelief when you watch Jay Briscoe. That's how good he is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The way he projects character and his work is just – the way he works is just not like other people. It's really –
It hits you over the head. It hits you over the head when he comes in the ring and starts working. It wakes you up no matter what. You can't be lulled into a Jay Briscoe match.
He's an elite, and when I say elite, I mean top 1% promo in wrestling right now. His promos are he understands who he is better than 99% of wrestlers out there, and then manages to project it. When you watch a Jay Briscoe promo, you get the feeling he really wants to beat the shit out of the guy he's talking
Exactly, that's
about.
what I mean. Yeah, he projects that's him, and that's why it's good, and that's why it works, because it feels, it sounds, and it looks like what Jay Briscoe would say. He's not reciting some stupid line. I mean, it's him.
This guy is an elite level talent, and I feel like he doesn't get his due and has never gotten his due. And people are going to look back in his career. He was in one of the greatest tag teams of his era, and they're still going strong, by the way. When those two guys team, they still put in tremendous performances. And he's also reinvented himself, which at some point, every great wrestler at some point has to reinvent himself, at least to some extent. Hulk Hogan had to reinvent himself, and Chris Jericho's reinvented himself a million times. We can go right down the list. But this is a guy, people remember the original, tag team. They're so much different than they were before. I mean, I don't have to tell people this. And he's reinvented himself, and he's made himself even better. And as a singles wrestler, the guy's just great. I mean, I can't, and as far as his political beliefs and his personal stuff, I don't care. Listen, when it comes to entertainers, I don't care about any of that stuff. Okay? Do I agree with some of the things that Jay Briscoe has said? Absolutely not. You'd have to be a monster to agree with some of the things that Jay Briscoe has said. But you know what? It's his right to think them. I don't have to agree with Jay Briscoe doesn't have to like gay people. That doesn't mean I have to agree with him, and I can think he's a dope. But when it comes to entertainers, I leave that stuff out. Musicians, wrestlers, actors, whoever. I don't care about their person. I care about what they do to entertain me. That's
Yeah, because unfortunately, you're not going to have many people that you enjoy because a lot of them are pieces of
they're
shit.
all assholes and pieces of shit.
Yeah, you're really not going to listen to any music or watch any movies or watch TV anymore if you're only follow people that are
Yeah, I mean,
like-minded to you or not total shitheads.
Totally. I mean, they're all real people, and real people. Look, I don't like most real people, so
yeah, most real people are total shitheads.
Yeah, so I
That'll
mean,
happen. Yeah.
Jay Briscoe's job is to entertain me when he's wrestling. That's it. That's it. So, I don't know. I just want to talk about Jay Briscoe a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know what, you were kind of talking about that, and actually, I don't. We talked, and that'll be kind of the theme of the show, I guess, is objectives or whatever. If you talk about it, yeah, it wasn't the most blow-away Ring of Honor show ever, but if you think about it, if the goal was to get that pay-per-view over and to kind of introduce you to some of the characters or whatever, yeah, the Briscoes facing, a pretty low on the totem pole tag team kind of sucks for us on a pure entertainment standpoint or whatever, but for the show purposes, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like it did what it was supposed to do. You knew the Briscoes were good. The Briscoes won. Like, you know what I mean? Like thinking about it, it's really not that big of a deal now.
Briscoes opened the show with the promo. You know what?
Yeah.
In a way, it was an unintentional soft reset. Because a lot of things they did were things you would have done if you did do a soft reset.
Mm-hmm. And it was just simple. It was just simple TV. It wasn't throwing everything at the wall in the first, opportunity you have and not doing, not giving away all the big stuff.
You know what it wasn't? It wasn't a monster eating a wrestler, and it wasn't a wrestler getting hit by a train. And, I don't need that shit. And a lot of people don't need that shit. And, I hate to go back to it, but if a monster ate a wrestler on Raw, do you think the reactions would be a little different? Why does Lucha Underground get a pass? I understand why, but I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if Lucha Underground should get a pass for a monster eating a wrestler. A monster ate a wrestler, Rich. I mean, look, I get that the tone's a little different, but that's just a turnoff to me. I'm sorry.
It was a little weird. Yeah, I was kind of a little weird on that.
I mean, people beat the shit, and rightfully so, out of TNA for Mickie James getting pushed in front of a train.
Yes, I thought that was stupid as well. I think they're all stupid. I think any angle where a wrestler dies and then actually, is all silly.
You cannot do a good angle where someone dies when they don't really die. You just can't.
Yes. When they're tweeting immediately following, at some point,
it's never going to work for me. And a monster eating a wrestler is patently absurd. I'm sorry, it's just absurd. I can't get into that. It's not for Joe Lanza, and never will be. But yeah, Ring of Honor doesn't do any of that shit. Okay, the closest they've ever come to being that overtly goofy, where every other American-based company gets goofy like that, is Kevin Steen with the lawyers. Remember all that nonsense during the Cornette era? But
I do.
That wasn't supernatural.
No, it was rooted in some reality too, and that was okay.
Yeah,
if that's the worst that they did,
that's
then
the worst
I'm
that they've
okay
ever
with
done in terms of goofy storylines.
Jimmy Jacobs had a lot of time.
Yeah, but again, it wasn't like supernatural or people dying or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
A monster ate a wrestler, Rich.
That'll happen.
I mean, no thanks. I'm gonna fast forward and watch the match. Sorry, no thanks. But yeah, so that was Ring of Honor. And I did you watch the TNA or no? I
did. I saw relative. I didn't see all of it, but I saw a good majority of it. It was okay. It was an okay show. I haven't watched it in a long time, and it still has a lot of stuff that makes me kind of eye roll. But
Mickie James being murdered aside, and we found out today she's not dead, by the way.
Just a concussion from getting hit by a train, which is good. That's wish her a speedy recovery.
Was there anything on the show that was offensive or shitty or very TNA-ish?
The dollhouse thing is kind of dumb.
I don't like the dollhouse either.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
It didn't offend me though. It's just something I don't like. I think
it's weird. Yeah,
creepy. It's a little creepy. And why are they listening?
There's a tone to it. There's a very odd tone to it that is. There's an audience I feel like they're going for with it.
Oh, you're going that route, huh?
Yeah.
You think it's a little, you think it's a pedo angle?
A little.
Say it, Rich. Say it. We say things on this show. So
well, and you know, Mia Yim and I forgot what her name is in there. There's I mentioned to you guys we were talking internally
it's
or whatever.
Jade because she's Asian.
Right.
Yes.
So, the attire and then the way that the camera acts when she's in the ring is kind of weird.
Expand on that.
They enjoy a certain region of her body, especially when she's on the ground, and liking to zoom in on that portion of her.
Referring to her hiney, Rich.
I am referring to. Actually, no. It's even a little bit more close than that. It's real up there. They're in the crotch.
Her tuchus, you may say. Oh, you're talking about the other side.
No. Go back and watch that match.
So you think they're focusing on her? Her
watch the match. See it.
Princess parts.
It's very it's odd. Yeah, I was watching I was watching that match or whatever, and and I think she's a decent wrestler. And I think overall, and I'm watching it, I'm going, what are they do? Like, this is really weird. Like, this camera does not need to be where it's at. It was weird. It was go back and watch it. For people that haven't seen it, go watch it. And I don't, I'm not going to tell you to make special, to look for it or whatever. But it's not going to be too hard. If you kind of have it in your mind, you'll see, and you're going to go, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, they're up there. They're closer than they need to be for a lot of parts, and it's odd. It's just weird. And the whole thing kind of has that tone for me as well. I don't know if it's for you too, but yeah.
For me, I mean, it's Bailey kind of.
It's got that AJ Lee thing. It's got that AJ Lee. Remember when AJ Lee came in and they had she's got to wear the schoolgirl outfit. She's got to talk like a 14-year-old, and they have to act like they're a bunch of teenagers or whatever. There's a weirdness to that where, like, and Mia, they don't need to do that with Mia Yim. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
It's just weird. It's just, yeah. And for Mr. I'm so progressive, it was kind of, it's odd. But
Billy?
Yeah. Well, and we know that's a load of bullshit. So
I just think it's, why, they're listening to, apparently they listen to Doll Parts by Hole on a loop when they're in their little dollhouse. Mm-hmm. And they listen to it either on AM radio or like they recorded it off the radio on like a handheld
on their cassette. Yeah, they did
like I used to do when I was 9 in 1980, whatever. It's like
dual cassettes. Yeah.
There's some awful audio quality. Yeah, I think the dollhouse needs to upgrade their audio equipment. They got to get a better stereo in that little dollhouse. That song sounds
Josh Matthews can't get a recording booth. He's got to sit in a closet. So no, they cannot get their upgraded audio.
But I mean,
him and the Pope are in a corner of a closet. No, you cannot.
They dug the Pope up out of a.
Where was the Pope? Wait, okay, so like I said, I don't watch a ton of it. Has the Pope not been around in a while?
Just the last couple weeks.
Okay.
They just, after Taz quit.
Because I heard his voice and I was like, who the hell?
Matthews was by himself for a while.
Yeah, Matthews is doing the solo show for a while.
And then they brought the Pope back.
Oh, well, there you go.
But Impact, I mean, most weeks, it's the point I was getting at. Was it's just an inoffensive show.
It's fine.
It hasn't been bad, but I do think people are people are saying, "Oh, Impact's been good." I wouldn't go as far as to say it's good. It's inoffensive at best. There's nothing on Impact that grips me. I mean, there's nothing that is compelling to me. There's nothing I think about 5 minutes after.
Yeah, the EC3 Kurt Angle doesn't have you chomping at the bit for their match, right?
No, and I like EC3 and. Kurt Angle's fine for what he is now. He's clearly washed up, and Spud is tremendous in his role. Am I chomping at the bit to watch Spud challenge Kurt Angle? No. I mean, am I chomping at the bit to watch EC3 challenge Kurt Angle? I mean, I'll watch it, but the Dirty Heels versus the Wolves. I tell you, most weeks I fast forward to that, watch their match and then skim through the rest of the show. I hate that the Wolves got off to a 2-0 start. I mean, that's predictable pro wrestling 101. Why do they treat us like we're stupid? We know the Dirty Heels are winning the next 2 matches now. I mean, if you're going to do a best of 5, you can't have someone get off to a 2-0 start because that means matches 3 and matches 4 are predictable and who's going to win them. And now there's not going to be any drama till the 5th match. If you're going to do a best of 5 in wrestling, okay, you have them alternate wins because then only the 4th match is predictable. Because then the 4th match, it's going to get tied up at 2-2. So 4 out of the 5 matches would be unpredictable.
Right. There's a little chance that they're going to sweep and they're going to go up 3-0 and that's the end of that. And they're going to say, okay, thank you.
It's pro wrestling.
Right.
They're getting to the 5th match. So why would you have one side start off 2-0 and remove all of the drama from the next 2 matches? And this isn't a TNA complaint. This is what people do in wrestling for some reason. It's like they treat us like we're stupid. Everyone knows they're winning the next 2 matches. I hate shit like that. Because
maybe Billy's going to swerve you, Joe.
I don't know, Rich. Maybe it's just me. Drama's a big thing for me when I watch this. I don't want to know who's going to win. When I can figure out who's going to win, it hurts the enjoyment. It doesn't mean the match can't be good.
We just talked about it in the last segment when I was talking about the Lethal Briscoe. I don't know who's going to win, and that's now my most, the match I cannot wait for.
Absolutely.
I'm most intrigued for because I have no fucking clue, and I don't want to have a clue. I don't want to even guess. I want to be wrong. I would love to say, yeah, Jay Briscoe's definitely winning, and then Jay Lethal wins. That's to me cool. As long as it makes sense, and in this case, not just complete. We're gonna have this guy win just because it does, just to swerve you guys because you didn't think it was gonna happen. But it makes sense in either way, and that's what's entertaining, and that's what it's there for. I've always been that way.
Didn't WCW do a best of 7 where somebody won the first 3, and it's like
Jericho and Benoit and Booker T did a best of 7. I don't remember who.
And it's like,
I'm going to look it up for you here real quick.
And I'll talk. I mean, and that's even dumber because then you're removing drama from 3 straight matches. It's like, who do they think is going to buy into the idea that there's going to...
we had, so Benoit went up 1-0. Booker T then was 1-1.
All right, so they didn't
then Benoit went up 2-1, 3-1, and then Booker T tied it, and then, okay, yep.
All right, so he went up 3-1, so then you had 2 unpredictable matches.
Oh, here you go. No, it was actually, you were correct. 2005 United States Championship. It was WWE when they dusted this off for Booker T and Chris Benoit.
There you go. I knew someone did it.
Booker T won the first 3, Benoit won the next 3, and then Randy Orton won the 7.
Right. Leave it to WWE to do a best of 7 and have somebody go up 3-0. I mean, because nobody treats their audience like bigger fucking idiots than WWE does. It's like, why do the best? It's like, I don't know. I'm not going to go through the whole same rant again. But why give people 3 matches that mean nothing?
Yeah.
Why do that? And I knew there was, and I guess I thought it was WCW because it was Booker and Benoit. And I guess that's where I got confused.
I forgot they had their little WWE run, 2005.
And it's like there's no reason to watch those 3 matches. I mean, not if you're watching for the reasons I watch wrestling, which is, it's I don't know, I can't stand it. But anyway, TNA is an inoffensive show. I think people go too far when they say it's good. I think Meltzer, he sings the praises of the TV, and I mean it's simple and it makes sense and all that. I kind of think he might be overcompensating a little because he beats them up so badly on the business end.
I do too. Yeah, it's not that good. let's reel it.
Look, I genuinely think that he thinks the show is passable, and it's not. I don't think he thinks the show is bad, but I think he does that to overcompensate a little bit. I never watch Impact and say, "Wow, that was. I can't wait till next week." That never happens. Where look, in the past, I'd watch Impact and I couldn't even finish it. And be like, I'm not.
Yeah, it's just a mean to an end right now. It's kind of if we weren't doing this, I would never even consider watching it.
But the fact that you watched it, it was watchable, right? It wasn't.
Absolutely, yeah. When it was over, I said, "Oh, okay, yeah." I wasn't saying, "Oh man, what time is it? I can't wait till next week." I was just kind of.
This is not even close to the most offensive era of Impact. I mean,
no, God, no.
This is right in the middle somewhere.
And we knew that. We knew that once they would kind of get stripped down, that they were going to get kind of simple here. And then, there's some stuff they're doing that's a little silly, but overall, it's fine. So, one of the big parts that we wanted to talk about, though, what we always do, obviously on this podcast, we're big about the ratings and sort of the competition between the two, what's going on here. So as we mentioned last week, Ring of Honor is going to start 8 o'clock, and this is Eastern time, and then TNA is going to go at 9. Ring of Honor will then be on a replay at 11, and then TNA will go on after that. So luckily we have ratings for all of these, so we can kind of break it down and look at it, and it's kind of surprising, and I do want to preface this by saying that and I'm sure we'll do it too, is that you can't really look at these as pure ratings. You also have to look at, as we mentioned last week on the show when we talked about the reason for this deal and the reason Ring of Honor is getting is look at return on investment and look at what one is paying and what one costs and all that sort of stuff. And then you can kind of realize why we might kind of freak out one way or another or have a strong opinion one way or another. So anyway, Ring of Honor opened up 163,000 for the 8 p.m. hour. TNA at 9 p.m. did 297,000. That unfortunately was their second lowest rating ever. That was trailing only the week that they aired a show that was a year old. And so this was obviously their first week moving from Friday to Wednesday. So there was going to be some downfall, but this is a pretty significant downfall. 11 p.m. Ring of Honor did relatively good for that hour. 110,000 there, and then the next episode of Impact, which is at 12 midnight, did 72,000. So
here's what you need to know.
Yeah.
Original airing plus replay for both shows. TNA beat Ring of Honor by roughly 95,000 viewers. If that pattern holds, TNA has zero chance, none, of having the cancellation reversed. The only prayer TNA had, well, they had a couple different chances to get the cancellation reversed. Number one, the two shows help each other tremendously, and they both do tremendous ratings, and Destination America falls in love with the idea of a wrestling block because it ends up having a little bit of juice.
Right.
And number two, TNA just blew Ring of Honor out of the water, and someone at Destination America had a soft spot for it and their change of heart. But if Ring of Honor is even in the same stratosphere of TNA,
with a second run show that costs nothing,
and basically if this pattern holds, TNA is dead, which it's going to be dead. We're 95% certain it's dead anyway. But from Destination America's point of view, like you said, the return on investment, and no, that doesn't even mean Ring of Honor will stick around past December. Destination America may determine that Ring of Honor isn't worth, what they're putting out for it if they have the same issues, getting advertisers the way TNA, and there's no reason to think that they wouldn't have those same issues. So there's no guarantee Ring of Honor sticks around past December either. But the fact of the matter is, Ring of Honor being in the same neighborhood as TNA in terms of total viewers is awful news for TNA.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It really is. If this pattern holds, that's it. That is the final nail in the coffin for TNA. Because at that point, there's no logical business reason to keep them around. There just isn't, because Ring of Honor is cheaper and the difference in viewers is negligible, and the difference in advertising dollars is going to end up being negligible. So that'll be it for them. Now, what I find interesting is they came within 95,000 total viewers with a show that wasn't even first run, which a lot of people saw over the weekend on their Sinclair channel, which a lot of people could watch on Nessun, and it still came within 95,000 viewers of TNA.
And it wasn't a good show. And let's be on paper, it was not a must-watch
so
show.
It didn't have any buzz.
It was very easily skippable if you wanted to.
It wasn't a show where people were saying you had to go see it. It had no buzz. And the other thing was, and this is a big one too, Destination America didn't even push the show.
They didn't advertise it whatsoever.
They didn't run any ads. They didn't run any. And they didn't.
There wasn't a bug on the bottom. I tuned in probably about 15 minutes prior to it. I forgot one of the stupid shows. I think it was Hillbilly Blood actually, or some terrible show. And on the bottom it said new Impact Wrestling.
Yep. And they ran that bug on
at
Ring
9
of Honor
p.m.
for Impact too.
Exactly. So this is 15 minutes before Ring of Honor is going on the air, and they're advertising on the bottom. TNA is coming up. Impact Wrestling is coming up at this hour or whatever. Ring of Honor comes on, as you said, in the bottom again on the bug. There's the thing there for Impact Wrestling. I mean, it was all Impact Wrestling. Destination America's social media. There was nothing about Ring of Honor as well. It was 100% about Impact Wrestling, and pretty much it was all up to Ring of Honor to promote it on their own. And I think they did a pretty good job, as good as you're going to do with social media, which there's always kind of an extent and a shelf life to it. But yeah, I think that's important too, is that this wasn't as well supported by the network as one would assume. So for people kind of going, nobody gives TNA any support, Spike, this is what we heard about Spike TV. Oh, Spike TV doesn't advertise for TNA, Destination America. They did nothing for Ring of Honor, zero.
TNA had every single advantage over Ring of Honor this week, and they barely beat them. I mean, it's
and last week too. I think it's worth noting that on the last week's Impact show, there was numerous things about, we're moving to Wednesdays. The show's going to be on Wednesdays. Hey, it's going to be on Wednesdays. Not an ounce, not a single mention of Ring of Honor during any point of that, of saying, hey, we have a new wrestling. And I'm not saying Impact had to say that. I'm saying Destination America didn't run any commercials during that. It said, hey, next week, when Impact moves to Wednesdays, also we're going to have this other show, Ring of Honor. Nothing. Zero.
Nothing.
When we say zero, we mean zero.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, your hardcore Ring of Honor fan saw the show before Wednesday and didn't bother watching.
Well, unfortunately, we couldn't find it. The Ringside membership, it did not upload to the Ringside members. That's why our review was a little bit late.
Do we know if they're doing that on purpose to protect Destination America?
I don't know. We're going to find out next week.
Yeah.
If it happens next week, unfortunately, we have to find a new Ring of Honor reviewer. But yeah, we're gonna find out. We don't know if it was just kind of a one-off thing, something kind of went wrong, someone forgot.
So Mr.
We'll find
Bentley
out.
does not have Destination
He does
America.
not. No.
That's
No.
a shame because he does a nice little review.
He does. He does a very good job.
So I hope that he's able to see the show somehow, maybe through nefarious means.
Yeah, well, we've emailed Ring of Honor. We haven't heard back yet either, but we both emailed them and said,
we're a legitimate agency around here, and we emailed right to the source, huh?
yeah.
Some people get back to us. Some people do not. We should give a little shout because we like to be full disclosure around here. Nobody has treated us better than Access TV.
Absolutely. Access has done a great job.
People at Access TV have done a tremendous job sending us pre-screeners for the New Japan show, sending us special secret links for our reviewers who do not get Access TV.
High-res images. They've recently sent me high-res images, which is very nice.
That's
Trust
a good
me.
point. That package of that Dropbox package we got of the high-res images absolutely. So
it's a gold mine.
Access TV has been very, very good to our website, and I would have to assume others as well. We'll see if Ring of Honor gotten back to us.
They have not.
Okay, well,
I'm not. I'm not expecting it
hold
either.
Your breath.
But
you're not waiting for that personal phone call from Joe Koff.
Yeah, we'll see, but no, I'm not.
How about a personal phone call from Delirious, and he will communicate in lizard speak?
I have spoke to Delirious multiple times.
In lizard speak.
In both.
In regular speak.
In regular speak and in lizard speak. There was one time where
Ring of Honor. Oh, go ahead. This is probably a good story.
No, there was one time when we were my buddy and I went to a Ring of Honor show, and we're in college or we have nothing fucking better to do. So everyone, I do this at sporting events too. I don't know if you're this way. I sit and wait at a sporting event because I'm not in a real big hurry to sit in my car and like wait in line to like get out or wait in line in a parking lot or whatever. Yeah, I sit there and suck it. I'm going to take it in. I'm just going to sit there and chill and let everybody else go and do all that. So we were at a Ring of Honor show and everyone's kind of left and gone. And it was a horrible snowstorm out there on the show anyway. So I was like in no rush whatsoever. Well, we're sitting there and Delirious walks up and he walks, and I'm like, oh, that's Delirious or whatever. So my friend is, oh, hey, I'm a big fan or whatever. And he's wearing a Delirious shirt. He actually bought a Delirious shirt earlier in the show because he liked it. And this is a non-wrestling fan friend that was there, but enjoyed him. So Delirious walks up to us and he goes, he talks about his nice shirt and he's doing this all in lizard speak. So it's really hard to see what he says. And then eventually, he's kind of just playing it up or whatever. And he's trying to put stuff away or whatever. Well, we're just sitting there looking at us. And then he turns and goes, well, if you guys are going to fucking hang around, could you just pick up some chairs? And we were like, oh, okay. So then for the next 40 minutes, we just picked up chairs because it was such a bad snowstorm that I think either guys that had other bookings, because this was a Friday show, I believe. So I think these guys realized, shit, we better get on the goddamn road or else we're going to be blocked here. So everybody was out. There was nobody left from the Ring of Honor offices. So I think Delirious had to go out there on his own and try to put these chairs away and try to get this thing ready. So he saw us and was like, hey, free labor. You guys get over here. And we're like, whatever.
So you weren't even doing ring duty with Adam Page and Jay Diesel. You were doing ring duty on your own with Delirious.
Yes, exactly. Us and I didn't put the ring down, but I helped stack all the chairs.
Was he sans mask?
He had the mask on still.
Mask was on.
Yeah. He never takes his mask off.
I'll tell you, I've seen him without the mask, but he puts like a hoodie. So.
Yes, yeah, he will not. Yeah, he will not be seen. I've peed next to him in a urinal, and he still has the mask on. And he still does the gimmick. That's the best part. He's
nothing more uncomfortable than the venue they used to run in Edison, New Jersey, which did not have bathrooms in the back. So you just be in the urinal.
Oh, I've peed next to every Ring of Honor. Yeah,
it's very uncomfortable. It's incredibly uncomfortable. I was never comfortable with it.
I once had to tell Ryan I was peeing next to Rocky Romero once. I was like, good match, and he was just like, yeah.
Might not be the place.
And I'm not a urinal talker guy, but he came up next to me, and I was like, do I not say anything? He just got done wrestling. And I was like, oh, good match. He's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. Sorry.
You don't want to have star rating talk at the urinal, Rich.
Right.
That can go.
I
that
instantly
can go very
regret it because I hate it. I hate urinal talk.
You can't walk up to a wrestler at a urinal and tell him 3.5 stars because you might be talking about his gimmick. You know what I mean? He might take that the wrong way.
Right.
So you got to be careful.
The worst is Nigel McGuinness finished. He was right before he was going to do a big main event. And I think he was a champion then or whatever. And I'm peeing next to him. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Very uncomfortable. Very.
And I was at the sink and he came over and I got out of the way. I'm like, oh, you can go ahead. You can go ahead of me, because he was up and his match was in a minute. So I was like, yeah, no, go ahead. You got places to go.
It's the worst, but.
And then he ran to the back and then came out he was, yeah, I'm ready to go.
You get to see which ones wash their hands or not, though. That's always interesting.
He was not a good washer. No, he was quick.
He didn't wash his hands?
To be fair, I think his music was playing, so he had to
Urinals.
It's very weird. Yeah. Frontier Fieldhouse for life. So what the hell are we talking about? Oh, yeah, ratings.
Yeah, so it's just
Anything else?
this was horrendous news for TNA. And
Yeah, not
if it
good.
holds, this is not good. So it's they're the most. It's not up in the air here. They're canceled. So things have to change dramatically in their favor for this to be reversed, and this was not a good start. So, and we don't know if it. Look, we don't know what their expectations are for the Ring of Honor show. This could have been, look, nobody watched either show. I mean,
Yeah, we won't sugarcoat it that Ring of Honor did amazingly well. They did.
no, but
They did okay.
the thing is, too, do you think all right, look, they switched nights. We know that had something to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait a few weeks and see how it plays. Because that happened when they moved to Fridays. That happened in the old Spike days too. The first week after a move were always horrendous. I mean, this is equal. This is the most horrendous
This is
it's
the
ever
worst
been.
ever because I don't count the year-old show. So let me ask you this: do you think the idea that they had such a horrendous week PR-wise with the cancellation news getting out, do you think that played a part in the rating going down a bit because people see it as a dead company?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or do you
It's an
think that's
odd
more of
fan
a
base,
hard?
though.
Or you think that's more?
Yeah, I think I don't know if that many people would know that. To be honest, though,
When you're
well, of
dealing
course-
with numbers this small, though,
yeah,
you are dealing with a high percentage of people who would know.
Yeah, no, you are. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really going to be telling this next week. I think this is the one that's going to be very important now because now it's established. Okay, we're on this night or whatever. And if they still do equally bad or worse or whatever, then okay. Now I'll start talking about just a company that people are just getting off on, and there's no reason for them to be in it anymore. There's no reason to be emotionally invested in it or waste your time with it or whatever. I mean, yeah, we could be talking about that right now. I'm not entirely positive.
One other huge disadvantage that we forgot to mention that Ring of Honor had was they went head to head with Lucha Underground and NXT.
Yeah,
and I mean, geez, so there's some crossover fan base there. So they weren't airing a first run show. They had no promotion from the network, and they were running head to head with Lucha Underground and NXT, and they still only came up 95,000 viewers short of TNA. Don't you find that remarkable?
Yeah, it's
that's bad news for TNA.
People that really aren't looking at this and really not, because I think a lot of people, like you said, are really don't want to pile on to TNA right now and do that sort of stuff. Man, you really got to look at this and like a 95,000 difference from an established show that's not good. It's just not.
And we are about 7 months away from the Spud Beer Bash in the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this company is ending with Spud in the ring. I'm telling you. He's their top babyface right now, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not good. Well, we'll see. I think ratings patterns are going to be important to look at it in a few days, and really the biggest thing that I want to bring, because there were people that say, it doesn't matter because TNA still beat them, and TNA, you got to think of the cost. You got to think of what's being involved and the return on investment and that sort of stuff. It's not pure ratings.
The thing is, even the Lunatic Fringe recognizes that this was an awful week.
They did. They're avoiding. You're not allowed to talk ratings anymore on TNA.
You can't even. So. They're not even spinning these numbers, which should tell you something too. But so
they did have some interesting theories, though. I'm not going to beat up on them because we do that every single show, but they had some interesting theories.
We've beaten that to death. But I mean, the fact is, no one has spun this as any kind of positive for TNA. It's just awful in every way.
Yeah. So
for a company where the news has been nothing but awful, period. So bad stuff.
Absolutely. Real quick, I want to talk a few things. We'll get to the best of the Super Juniors here in a sec, but I have this on my notes as well. Real quick, I don't have any strong, kind of thoughts or opinions or whatever, but Tommy Rogers died this week, and he's, half of the Fantastics, and that's a tag team that you've said numerous times that you loved and you thought were better than, the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express or whatever. You want to talk a little bit about Tommy Rogers and the Fantastics?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add that other people haven't already said and haven't said better than the way I can put it, but I mean, I've always maintained on this show, that's one of my favorite tag teams ever, the Fantastics. I think Tommy Rogers was the juice of that tag team, and a great worker. He came at the wrong time. You know what I mean? It was bad timing for him, based on his style of work and his size and all that. But, and they bounced around a lot and didn't really stay in one place for all that. I guess that was kind of the nature of the business then too. But I preferred them to the Midnight Express. I preferred them to the Rock and Roll Express, which are two teams I like a lot. but I always thought the Fantastics were better, and I always thought they were a little ahead of their time. I mean, you watch Fantastics, it was a solid pace to their matches. I mean,
Yeah.
they work a hard pace, and the kind of pace you didn't see in the late 80s and the early 90s. And, Tommy Rogers, first of all, I was shocked how young he was. I couldn't believe he was only 53 or 54 years old or whatever.
Yeah, he was a baby then, I guess, when you were watching him. Like,
there were times where he was like 23 years old. And it's like, look, everybody in the 80s looked 10 years older than they were for whatever reason, whether they were all on coke or, living the hard road life or whatever it was. But I was shocked at how young he was. And,
yeah.
And he was a lot of.
80s are the worst. Anytime I look at like I was talking with someone the other day, and I was like, I don't think any picture I've seen of any woman in the 80s I was never attracted to. Like, I feel like every woman was just like not attractive at all. That could be.
I don't think any person was attractive from about 1974 till about 1989. Nobody was attractive.
Yeah, it's like, let me wear the baggiest clothes and have my hair look as ridiculous as humanly possible and wear as much makeup as possible.
Bad haircuts, bad facial hair, bad style. That 15-year period, no one was attractive.
Nobody was attractive. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, everybody looks disgusting.
Everyone was awful during that time. Everyone looked awful in that time. I'll tell you what, people are going to look back on this era the same way, with these guys walking around with these straggly beards. And this is a bad era, too, for men.
It's not
for
great.
Women, it's not bad. I got to tell you.
I don't know. The rompers could probably go away.
Rich.
Those things are the worst.
If yoga pants never go out of style, I'll die a happy man. Okay?
I'm fine with those. Those are fine.
We are in the yoga pants era, and cross your fingers. Every summer that comes around, I hope that the trend has not died yet, and it hasn't.
It has not.
And the great thing,
it's accelerated, if anything.
The great thing about the yoga pants, Rich, is they'll wear them in any season. You see them in the summer. You see them at the gym. You see them in the winter. They wear the yoga pants in the winter, and they wear like a sweatshirt with the yoga pants. The yoga pants they're versatile. I assume that they're very comfortable, and let's just hope that it never goes out of style. Yoga pants need to stay in style for as long as humanly possible.
All right, scraggly beards, they could probably go.
Well, no, I like that because that kind of eliminates a lot of my competition, because a lot of women don't like that.
Saying.
A lot of women don't like the Daniel Bryan look. There's some women who are into it, you know what I mean? But a lot of women don't like that look.
I got the stubble. I go with the stubble.
I like the look. Listen, I've always said Joe Lanza looks best with 2 days worth of facial hair growth.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm about a 3 day is my prime.
3 days is too much for me. It's 2 days.
Then 4 or 5 days and I'm out, and then I look like a ridiculous idiot.
a fresh shave isn't my best look either.
No, I hate the fresh shave.
I don't like how I look with the fresh shave. I
shave at night so that when I wake up in the morning, I still have a little bit.
We're on the same path there. That's a good strategy. Okay. I hate when I have to shave in the morning because I don't feel confident. I just don't feel confident with the fresh shave. When I got that 2 day worth of growth though, that's when Joe Lanza's at his best. Watch out. Watch out, women of College Station, because that's when my confidence is at its peak. If you get me with 2 days worth of facial hair growth and a fresh haircut, forget it. I'm like a maniac.
It's over.
That's me at my absolute peak. But
I feel that way with like colored pants or whatever. Like you see people wearing like red pants. I don't know if that's as much for you guys, but we get like guys wearing like yellow pants and like bright red pants or whatever. I'm like, and my theory is always, if whatever you're wearing, think about in 10 years what people are going to think about it.
Exactly.
If people are going to look at your picture and go, oh my God, Dad, you look like an idiot. Like I do with my dad, who's wearing like, you could basically one of his testicles is hanging out of his like short shorts or whatever with his scraggly fucking mustache. And I'm like, Dad, you did not think this looked good, did you? And he was like, I mean, at the time. And I'm like, no, you knew this was bad. Like you knew this was going to be awful, right?
You're in my head again, Craig, because one of my life theories has been, don't take a picture you're going to regret later. Right. You always look good enough to where you're not going to look like a fool years later. I've always maintained that myself. I'll tell you, we're on the same page here with the fashion. I gotta say,
that's frightening. That's not good for
we're thinking the same way.
I don't think.
I've had a variation of the same haircut since the 5th grade. I just change it up a little. But it works for me. You got a nice Italian haircut. A little too much gel, maybe, but that's all right. Especially.
I mean, you're Italian after all. I mean,
yeah, I can get away with it. There's different things you can get away with based on your charisma. But yeah, what the hell were we originally talking about?
I think we're talking about Destination America ratings, but I think we can move on from whatever the hell.
No. We had moved on.
Oh, Tommy Rogers.
Tommy
fantastic.
Rogers. Listen, we can segue. We segued a man's death into how much facial hair that we look best.
And my dad's testicles hanging out of a photo. I mean, that's
really
you can't
amazing.
beat that.
Yeah, but yeah, the Fantastics. Look, Go on your little network and watch all. There's not that many, but on the early clashes, there's some fantastics. Unfortunately, there's really nothing from anywhere else because they don't upload any other footage.
Go to the ditch. The ditch has got a lot of All Japan fantastics.
There
If
you
you
go.
want.
Have you gotten to any of the fantastic stuff?
I've gotten to a few. Yeah, I got to one of the not
you're
the
getting the
Malenkos.
Rogers and Bobby Fulton fantastics. That's an important distinction. All of the versions were good, but
Yeah, which one is that one? I've only seen one. They've only popped up once for me.
so you really.
I think so. Yeah, no, I'm almost positive it's those.
Because you get the Jackie Fulton mixed in, you know what I mean. So you got to be careful with that. But
yeah, let's see here. I gotta find out. Yeah, I don't know right now, but
the point, yeah,
I've only seen
I preferred them to Midnight Express, who seem to be everybody's holy grail of tag teams. I preferred them to the Fabulous Ones and teams like that. The Rockers. That's a tough one. The best of the Rockers to me is I don't know. All those teams are great. I mean, why am I even comparing them all? I mean, they're all great. Those are all great
you
teams.
don't have to.
That's a great era, and those are all great teams. And the Fantastics were a great team. Tommy Rogers was a great worker. He's a guy that really was ahead of his time, and it was a team that was ahead of its time. I think that team and the Nightmares from Continental were two teams that really, could have fit in the modern era in terms of being ahead of their time, with their style of work. So, big fan of Tommy Rogers, big fan of the Fantastics. And it seems like, based on the obit and the Observer, he had a hard last few years of his life.
Yeah.
So maybe some brain damage there. So based on some of his behavior, and it's a story we've seen a million times. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
It's not good.
Nope. Move on now to the best of the Super Juniors. We have the finals coming up Sunday morning, and thankfully we have a full card now as opposed to just the finals. But I want to talk about the finals first before we get into that. A kind of a shocking revelation, at least for me. Kushida was the obvious one. We knew about that. We even talked about it last week. I mean, that was, we were coming up with scenarios for it to not be Kushida, and they didn't even wait till the final day. Kushida won it, 2 days prior. Day 11, he already had it locked in and ready to go. So he was there. We
wasted all that time trying to figure out how.
Yeah, and Gato was just like, no, it's Kushida. I'm not gonna get silly.
He threw his hands like we did. They had it.
Yeah.
They had it locked up before the final day.
I'm sure he had a big fucking whiteboard, and he was just like, fuck it, just have him win. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, just screw it, just whatever.
Because what they needed to do, like Cubs fan actually went deeper than we did. They would have had to have had David Finlay win a match.
Right.
In order, that had to have happened. There was no way around it. David Finlay would have had to have beaten Rocky Romero to keep any hope of drama going into the last day. And I guess they didn't want to give Finlay that win. So Kushida had it locked up before that point.
Absolutely. But then yesterday morning, or by the time we're recording this, it would have been Friday morning, a bit of an upset. Kyle O'Reilly will be going to the finals here. Taguchi lost to your boy Chase Owens with the big upset, the mega upset there, and Kyle O'Reilly beat your boy Gato as well. This was a very interesting day for you. Those are two matches I'm sure you were. Have you seen both those matches yet or no?
I haven't watched that day yet, no.
The Chase Owens one was really good. Taguchi, it was not the silly Taguchi. It was for an extent, but then it kind of got serious. Like he sort of almost realized, oh shit, like this guy's giving me a lot more trouble than I thought.
Or
and it was kind of cool in that
situation where it was like he knew he needed to win the block.
Yeah, he fucked around for 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, and then was like, shit, this guy's not, he did the Dodan, he was trying to solve stuff, and Chase kept going and going and going, and then at the end he was like, fuck, I do really get going here. This guy's gonna beat me, and I want to win this block or whatever. So yeah, it was interesting too. It shows you what Taguchi can do if he's not just being a silly butt faced asshole or whatever. And I mean that because he does ass based offense. Yeah. That's why I'm saying that, because he's just it's been awful.
He's capable of great matches.
Yeah, this was really good. I enjoyed this match a lot.
Yeah, but the problem
and then Kyle O'Reilly Gato, I mean, come on.
Was that good? I don't know.
Oh, it was solid. It was really good.
Gato really, all of his matches at Cork and Hall in this tournament really were a lot of fun. Did you see the Gato Liger match?
Oh yeah.
What a tremendous match that was. Where the figure 4 spot where he made the ropes and then he dragged him back in the center and put him right back in it. And then he went for the Gato clutch early in the match and Liger barely escaped. And then Liger caught him at the end, and Gato really sold it like he blew an opportunity. He's just so over in that building and he knows it, which is why he, gave himself certain matchups. He had himself in, an important match with O'Reilly at the end. The match with Liger was in Korakuen Hall. The match with Taguchi main evented the first show at Korakuen Hall. So crafty of him to put himself in those matches in Korakuen where he knew. And I saw something interesting this week. Prince Devitt, Finn Balor rather, on the Jericho podcast. You know what he said his favorite match of all time was? Did you see that?
Yeah, it was that match against Gato, right?
The Gato match from 2012.
That's a great match. That's like an all-time. Like people at the time, we were on the early stages of this site in general, and we were just touting that match like so much.
Man, I've been talking about that match the last couple weeks with all this Gato stuff that's been going on. If you haven't seen,
do it right now. Pause this. It's okay. We don't care.
From Korakuen Hall, you've got your little New Japan world. Go watch that match. It's a tremendous match, and it's Balor's favorite match of his career.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was the gatekeeper match. Then he got his title shot.
Yeah, it was
at Okada, but he had to go through Gato first.
That's right,
which was cool
because he was a junior at the time. He was junior champion, and he wanted a shot at Okada. And Okada said, "Look, you got to beat Gato." But see, that caught Gato off guard, and Gato was like, "Wait, what are you talking about? Do you remember the promo?" And Gato was like, whoa, I don't want to wrestle this guy. This guy's going to kill me. He's the champ. That was the whole vibe there. And then Okada, talked him into it. And Gato accepted the challenge. And, so it's kind of like if you could find the promo, watch that first. Then watch the match. And the story is Devitt has to beat this guy in order to get his title shot against Okada. And that really sets the stage for it. And it's just, in terms of matches at Korakuen Hall, which obviously – there's great stuff every month in that place from all sorts of. That was some of the. That building, like, you hear the phrase a lot, but the roof was blowing off that building for that match.
Yes.
With the near falls and everything. This is a great match.
And it helped ascend Devitt as well. Devitt was able to then become a justifiable, heavyweight title contender.
And that's why I say
in one match,
you can make the argument that Gato is one of the 10 best workers in that company. I firmly believe that. Because like you just said, that really catapulted Devitt that match. And, it's in terms of ring psychology and being a ring general in those things and getting reactions out of fans, Gato is a tremendous worker. He really is. Go watch the Taguchi and Liger matches from this tournament. I haven't seen the O'Reilly match. I can't speak to that one. But, those are just great matches. And, Liger's no slouch. Liger obviously is very similar to Gato in that respect where he can get a lot out of a little at this point. But yeah, so looking forward to watching that O'Reilly match. But, yeah, so it sets the stage for the final, which is?
As mentioned, Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly, which will happen Sunday morning, and that should be spectacular. There's no doubt in my mind, and we know this from the history of these Best of the Super Junior finals, is that they're given time. This is their show. It's this. I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be great. Just really, really good. I don't know if it's going to be as good as last year. I don't know if it's going to be Kushida Ricochet style, but
hey,
man,
it's the match we all wanted.
Yeah, it's
the match that everyone wanted when they looked at the two blocks, and we got it. And, Chase Owens is the savior. Maybe he can go save Noah now. And he saved us from Taguchi.
They need him because they're going to Takayama, which we were very worried about.
Yeah. Well, see.
And that's where they went.
Man, I don't know. I think the answer to that question has been right in front of our face this whole time, and we're just refusing to see it. If they keep teasing Kobashi, I'm more.
Just got to just syringe him up, just get him enough cortisone for one match.
The fact of the matter, if they keep teasing it, why tease it if you're not going to do it?
Yeah.
And especially in Japan where they don't fuck around and tease shit. You know what I mean? It's like, look, can Kobashi get in the ring with Minoru Suzuki, who's great, by the way, and can carry it if he has to? He can carry it with facial expressions alone. Okay? Can they get Kobashi into that dome on the 4th? And get him to do a 13-minute match with a million shortcuts with, can Minoru Suzuki get him through a 13-minute match? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
They just have to look at each other for 10 of the minutes and they'll be fine.
The stare down alone.
And then Kobashi can chop him for 2 minutes.
Exactly.
And then,
it's
we're already at, only one more minute left to go.
We all saw his retirement match. He can't, look, it was a 6-man tag or whatever. He can't get through a 13-minute singles match at the Dome where people are going to be forgiving anyway. And
yeah, he's just got to stand and chop. That's all he's got to do.
And look at the charisma. Two of the most charismatic wrestlers around. Look, they can get by on charisma alone. Okay? And what's going to, you put Kobashi against Minoru Suzuki in that Dome. I mean, geez. I mean, does it get any bigger than that? I mean, you're talking about, that might end up being the the real main event. I don't know what they got planned, but I mean, it seems as though
I mean, I think Austin and Brock would be a little bit bigger, but
no, I mean,
because you asked, does it get any bigger than that? But no,
no, I
I
mean
got
for
you.
that company,
No, I know. I'm just.
but I mean, it's like maybe the answer has been right in front of our faces, and we're just ignoring it. I mean, maybe it is Kobashi who is the savior. Maybe he's got one more moonsault in him. These guys.
I would. No.
Look, Rich, these guys are idiots. You know that.
They're dumb. Yeah, they probably will.
I mean,
Yeah, he won't go in there and give a half-ass effort. He'll work it as well as he can. Yeah.
I mean, is he going to look good? Probably not. But will he do what he can? Yeah, of course. I mean, look, when you're dealing with charisma at that level, I mean, when he gets that scowl on his face at Suzuki now, don't you get a little pumped up? Like,
oh, every time, every single time.
You're like, oh, this has to happen. Well, why would they tease it if it's not going to? The best thing they could do at this point is have Suzuki beat the shit out of Taue and have Kobashi make the save and then set up the match on the 4th. Right? I mean,
I'm in. Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't be pumped for that, even though we know the physical state of the man? I mean, just for the spectacle of it alone. I mean, I just want to see it for the stare down. Kobashi in the dome at Minoru Suzuki, this fucking prick heel who's besmirched his company, and spit on the memory of Masawa and everything else. I mean, they're setting it up. I mean, it's right in front of our face. I mean,
it's right there. Yeah, it's there if they want it.
Why are we ignoring it? I mean, this is wrestling. So what? He retire. Everybody retires. You know what I mean? It's like, that doesn't mean anything. I don't know. I think he could fake his way through 13 minutes. I really do.
Yeah, I think you can do 5 minutes stare. Yeah, I think all he's got to do is stand and chop.
Shit,
really.
He faked his way. Everything after the Joe match, he faked his way through 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Why can't he do it again?
Yeah, that thing was. Yeah, that's an all-time great match, and he didn't.
No,
really
I mean,
chop people. Yeah.
Everything after that match was he never had.
Yeah, even
that
match. One is. I love that match. I really do.
Yeah,
that's not 1990. That's not 1993.
I'm with you. That match was overrated. I'm with you. People.
The crowd, if the crowd went ape shit for it, and it was fine for that.
Now listen, we're getting. We're gonna get ripped for this.
Oh no, I know. It's fine. I love it. It's still one of my favorite matches to watch, but I think is like a pure. If I muted it, I don't think it would be my favorite.
If you didn't know, if Kobashi wasn't Kobashi, I mean, that match isn't. I mean, a lot of it was the novelty of Kobashi.
Exactly right. It was, oh my fucking god, Kenta Kobashi is wrestling the Ring of Honor ring.
And
yeah,
Samoa Joe is at his fucking peak. I mean, you couldn't come up with a better bigger I mean, that was just that for the hardcore fan. That was it. You know what I mean? It was fucking Kobashi and Joe at his peak. I mean, geez, that carry. Look, I'm not. The work was fine. The story. It was a good match. A little overrated though. A little overrated as a match. But I mean, yeah, everything Kobashi ever did after that was pretty much shit, unless I'm forgetting something obvious. Why can't he fake his way through another 13-minute match in the Dome where, it's going to be all about the spectacle anyway? I don't see it. I mean, Muto still fucking does it. Why can't he?
Yeah, right, yeah.
So,
And Muto will bust out a moonsault every so often, and
yeah.
His knees are made of rocks, so I mean, if he could do it, yeah.
These guys are morons. I could totally see him going in there and doing one more moonsault.
Anyway, real quick, breaking down the Best of Super Junior final standings here. Obviously, O'Reilly won the A block with 12 points. Also following Taguchi with 10 points. Beretta with 8. So a good showing for Beretta. Chase Owens with a decent showing as well with 8. Jushin Thunder Liger, 8. And then Kevin Ario, who really kind of petered off a little bit after a pretty hot early stretch. He ended with 6. Gato with 4. And then Yohei Komatsu with the unfortunate goose egg of 0. So no wins for you. Did you think Komatsu was going to get at least one win or not? Do you think he was taking everything? You thought he was? Yeah, I thought so too. B block here, we had Kushida with 12. Bobby Fish came in second, tied with second rather. Bobby Fish and Dorada both with 10. Rocky Romero with 8. Tiger Mask with 8. Nick Jackson with 6. Alex Shelley, of course, with only 2 after he withdrew. And then David Finlay with the big goose egg 0.
Best matches. Fish and Kushida was an excellent match from, I believe it was night 6 or night 7. Can't remember.
Yeah, the nights are gonna. We're gonna probably have the nights wrong, but just look up the matches for when we kind of talk about ones we recommend. Because to me, it's become a blur. But yes,
Fish and Kushida, Liger and Komatsu, the first match of the tournament. Gato and Taguchi, Gato and Liger. Those are some of the ones that stand out for me. I haven't seen final.
Yeah, I would put the Chase Taguchi one up there as well. Just for the pure drama and all that's involved in it. Yes,
And look,
I would absolutely.
I didn't think O'Reilly had a great tournament.
He did not. No, he disappointed.
I mean,
I thought Fish had a really good tournament. I thought Fish sort of looked better than O'Reilly in a lot of ways.
yeah, well, I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but Bobby Fish, man, never gets his due.
He was a good man. He likes his Starbucks too, according to Hiroshi Tanahashi.
How about that?
Found those
yeah,
tweets?
how about Tanahashi?
Tanahashi every fucking day. Oh, I met Bobby Fish again.
Running into
like different Starbucks too. That's the best part. Is they're like, oh, got him in Nagoya. Oh, there's Bobby Fish. Like that's like what a world. Like you know what I mean? Like there's so many people there.
At first I thought it was just a random thing, but then when he did it several times in a row, it's kind of like maybe they were doing a gimmick. I don't know, but it was still.
I don't know.
Still amusing.
Yeah.
How about Yohei Komatsu tearing apart his apartment going after a cockroach? Did you see that?
I did not see that. No.
Jay White tweeted that out. Apparently, Yohei Komatsu is terrified of cockroaches.
Oh, I've done the same.
And he had a cockroach in his apartment, and Jay White posted a series of photographs of him flipping up mattresses and cleaning up. And then he did find the cockroach, and he did murder it. And there was a photo of him with the sandal in his hand and the dead cockroach on the floor. So.
Oh, I've done it. There was once one in our bathroom at this apartment that we have here, and we locked the door, and I had like a flashlight. I hunted that thing for like 3 hours.
Yes, Rich, because locking the door will keep the cockroach in the bathroom.
No. It was no. It was a plan. It was a ruse to try to get him out.
Oh wait, you got to walk me through this one because
it was a long. I don't want it. It took 3 hours.
How was locking the bathroom? You're trying to outsmart the prehistoric creature.
Yes.
By locking the door.
I got him, didn't I?
You know he could run under the door whether it's locked or not. You realize that?
Yeah. And then he ran to the light, and then I smashed him, and then he was dead.
Okay, so your strategy was put him in the dark. Hopefully he runs to the light, and then you're waiting for him with the shoe.
Got him. Yep, and then we got him.
And you killed him. Was it one of those?
Granted, I waited there for like an hour and a half, but yeah.
Was it one of those enormous, like 2-inch cockroach deals?
Oh, it was huge. It was gigantic.
I hate those. I'm terrified of those things.
Yeah. And then, no, that's the thing. I couldn't go to bed. Like it happened at like 11 at night once.
Yeah.
When I saw it in the bathroom, and I was like, "Motherfucker!
No,
I can't go to bed. I'm not going to sleep
because it'll attack you in the night." I mean,
right? I was like, "No, I'm up till 2 a.m. now hunting this goddamn."
And then the crunch, and then like that yellow like stuff comes out of them too.
Yeah.
And then like, did you make Michelle clean it up?
No, I cleaned it up.
See, I would have made.
Oh, she was in the other room cowering in fear. That's a big reason why I couldn't.
Let me tell you something. If I was in your apartment, I would have been with her up on the couch. Like, I'm terrified of those things.
Yeah. Well, that's how I am with mice. I made her once. There was a mouse that was in my old apartment. And I woke up one day, like the middle of the night, I just went to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and the fucking little mouse is in the toilet. Like he had died somehow and fell in the toilet. Oh. I woke her up and I said, nope. I said, you are finding a way. I have to pee. No.
How big was it?
It was bigger than that. No, it was bigger than that. Then I would have had to call the apartment complex, and they're asking me why I flushed a mouse.
I would have flushed that fucker.
No, it didn't work. We had to take it out to the
mice don't scare me.
Oh,
I'm not scared of any creature other than the cockroach. That's the only creature that scares me.
Because they'll outsmart you. They're smart.
And they're fast, and some of them fly. Those big ones fly, and they hiss.
Yeah, this was not. Yeah.
We had them when I was growing up in the apartment I grew up in. It's crazy because in Texas we got those big cockroaches. Luckily, I've been very lucky. Now, of course, I'm going to see one tonight because we're talking about this. 6 years I've been in this house. I haven't seen a cockroach anywhere near it, which I feel like I'm lucky because down here we got tons of those cockroaches that you're talking about. The mice, though, I don't really mind the mice. The mice don't really, I don't know. No other creature bothers me, but the spiders don't bother me. Nothing really. Snakes, I get snakes in the backyard all the time. But
yeah, spiders don't bother me much. But we get a lot of centipedes. We get a lot of those house centipedes.
Yeah, they don't bother me either.
Those tiger ones, I let them live now. I realize that they eat spiders. So when I see one of them, I'm assuming that there's a spider somewhere and he's going to eat it. And I'm like, that's fine.
We get here. We get geckos.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'll get a gecko like in my kitchen because they'll come in if I have the window open. I guess they come in underneath the screen, and I always know because the dogs like to rip them apart. So
right.
The dog finds the gecko and rips it into. So I'll find like a gecko torn into pieces on my kitchen floor once or twice a year. And and I'm cleaning up a dead gecko. But yeah, so. Yeah. Yohei Komatsu, though.
Yes.
Look it up on Jay White's Twitter feed.
I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Terrified of
because I'm with him. I'm with Yohei Komatsu on that. I've become a bigger fan of him as well. So as a result of that. All right. Break down the best of the Super Juniors card here real quick. Obviously, the main event, Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly. Nice little 10-man tag here. Captain New Japan, Shibata, Tanahashi, Makabe, and Goto against Yoshihashi, Sakuraba, Toru Yano, Tomohiro Ishii, and Shinsuke Nakamura. So Chaos versus a collection of New Japan guys. Gato and Okada against Cody Hall and Yujiro Takahashi. That should be...
I'm very interested in that. I want to see... Listen, that is a terrible tag team. Yujiro and Cody Hall.
That's why, yeah. Also, you're interested in a pure
from a work standpoint. I want to see
of like how the fuck is that going to work? Because who do you hide there? Who do you hide? Like Yujiro is the work rate guy there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Cody Hall. I want to see what Gato can get out of Cody Hall. I'm interested in that match, big time. So I'm looking forward to that match.
This one's going to be interesting. Hanma, Kojima, and Tenzan versus David Finlay, Nakanishi, and Yuji Nagata. What could those guys talk about? What could Yuji Nagata, Nakanishi, and David Finlay talk about?
You are such a... You're a big fan of this. What can partners talk about? You enjoy that.
I do. Well, how old is David Finlay? How old is he?
He's like 23 or something like that.
Yeah, like Nakanishi was in WCW when David Finlay wasn't even born yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
very true.
I think there's a conversation. That's a big deal. What do you talk about?
I don't know what they talk about.
That's what I mean. Like, it's small talk. I'm worried about the small talk, Joe.
It's a valid point. When you're on the apron.
You talk about weather? I mean, did everybody just talk about the weather? I mean, that's
a six-man match. You can be on the apron with the man. You might as well
that's what I mean. Like, him and Nakanishi are going to be next to each other, and they got to talk about something, right?
I assume they'll be focused on the match, Rich.
Well, Nakanishi, I don't think Nakanishi's going to focus on it. Does he? I don't think he focuses on matches anymore. I think he just kind of... Other matches here, Rocky Romero taking on Nick Jackson, Beretta versus Bobby Fish, Dorada versus Kevin Ario, Tiger Mask versus Chase Owens, and then Sho Tanaka, Jushin Thunder Liger against Yohei Komatsu and Ryusuke Taguchi. So that rounds out your... Yeah, that'll be a good one.
You blew through those singles matches, but,
they're good ones there. There's a bunch of good ones there. Dorada, Kevin Ario, I'm in.
Dorada and Kevin Ario, that's a big-time match.
Beretta and Bobby Fish is going to be a nice sleazy guys that really know how to work. Just not guys that get the guys that can maximize every little bit that they do, and that's what Beretta in this tournament had. And he was a guy who I think really, when it was over, I said, you know what? Here's a guy that I've always liked Beretta, but I really appreciate him throughout this tournament. He's a guy who just makes the most out of everything that he does.
He didn't. You're so right about that. He didn't have any standout matches, but you enjoyed his performances.
Did you see him in Gato?
Was that?
I described it as the sleaziest of the sleaze. Yeah,
I haven't seen the second to last night.
Oh, it's so good. They're just trying to out sleaze one another and be like, it's so good. You'll love it. It'll be like
sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, you'll love it. You'll absolutely adore that.
So Gato's got 2 gems ahead of me.
Gato's the fucking best.
Didn't he have let me tell you, I tried to tell people he was going to have a great tournament, and he ended up delivering. So I'm happy about that. He's a tremendous, tremendous worker.
Yeah, Gato's the best.
So, yeah, it's not often New Japan does singles matches like this. So, it's good that they're giving 3 or 4 singles matches, non-tournament singles matches on this show here. It's not a bad little show for the size of the building they're running at all. So, looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. Someone will review it. Maybe I'll review it. Who knows?
We better tell Brian, because I think he's planning on doing it.
So. You know Brian. I could just say, Brian, I'm doing it. And he'll go, okay.
Because he's doing it anyway. So he doesn't care.
I'm married to him.
If you wake up, you can just tell him, and then you're good. So, all right. Did you want to bounce around Japan, or do you want to talk this NXT thing? We're kind of running out of time here, so it's up to you.
People really like the bouncing around Japan, Rich.
Do you want to do it? Let's go over these NXT tryouts real quick. Right. We can run through these here real quick. Star-studded cast here, trying out for NXT this weekend. As we speak right now, a bunch of guys here, and this probably could be a debate for a bigger day, and maybe we will hold it off to talk a little bit more, because there's a big macro thing that you can go here, and a big what WWE is doing and how they're hiring and all that sort of stuff. But here's the list of the guys that are trying out right now, guys and gals. Johnny Gargano. We're both big fans, and he's getting his tryout. He many years ago had a developmental contract, that possibility and all that sort of stuff. But this is another tryout for him. Biff Busick,
well earned.
Yes, Johnny. Yeah. Biff Busick is a guy who
we knew this name a while ago.
Yeah, they'd be silly not to sign him.
I agree. They should sign him.
Well, I'm actually, they'd be silly not to sign all these people, to be honest, or at least give some feelers to all these people. Drew Gulak. He's, I don't know if that's him.
I don't listen.
That system, that the way they,
I'm not a big fan.
I don't think he's going to jump off at the pay. I think what he does right now is fine for him. I think that's what he's sort of destined to do. WWE doesn't quite seem.
He doesn't do nothing for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Chuck Taylor, Chucky T.
perfect fit. Another guy, well earned, not a spring chicken anymore. Getting to the point where it's now or never for him. Excellent worker. I mean, he does a lot of comedy stuff, but when in terms of his ability and his technique, and he's an excellent worker.
Yeah, he can go on NXT tomorrow. If they signed him and then said, "Hey, next week you're on NXT," I think he'd be perfect.
Forget it. Yeah, he can walk. He can moonwalk into that company and work with anybody. So yeah, hopefully, I hope he gets signed.
Jimmy Preston, who's a New England indie wrestler. I don't know if you've.
About him.
Yeah, I've only seen little bits. I've seen his name places, but I don't think I've seen too much of him. So yeah, that's about. Taylor Hendricks, who was she was in TNA for a while, OVW, a bunch of other stuff.
I don't think she's any good.
Yeah, I don't think she's very good either. Athena. You're going to get in trouble, Joe. I can tell. I know you are.
Let me be careful here. Athena is... You talk about Athena.
I just think she's okay. I think she's very, very overrated in a lot of circles.
I think Athena...
I've tried, and to be fair, I haven't seen all the Shimmer stuff. But when I've seen her on AEW, I've seen her in Anarchy, I've seen her in Inspire and stuff. Nothing has jumped out at me ever. Ever watching.
I've seen Athena live a million times.
Yeah, I've seen it probably now at this point about 5 or 6 times. That's live.
I want to say I've seen Athena do amazing things in a wrestling ring. I really have. I've also seen Athena be terrible. Like flat out terrible. Like first day wrestling school bad. Sloppy, out of position. I've heard things. I don't know. Can we move on?
Yep.
Her personality might get the better of her over the next couple of days. Let me just put it that way.
Jessica Havoc. She'll fit with what? That's a good signing.
I think.
If they do.
Look, she looked like shit in TNA. But I think
that's a TNA factor there. I'm going to let that go.
Look, when you're working with Velvet Sky.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
she's one of the worst around. So
yeah, that's what I'm grading. I'm grading on that curve. I think she's going to fit perfectly.
I think they should sign her. Because I think there's something there. I think there's a lot of potential there.
The look is cool too. They need that. They need something. Yeah, they need something a little bit different than.
And it's. I'd really hate for them to sign her, and then all of these fucking goofs who pick on Kevin Owens pick on her. Because different body types are a good thing, not a big.
They're fine. They should. Every wrestler should look a little bit different. Yes.
And she's.
The people bitch about. I love when people bitch about that. And then at the same time they'll say their favorite era of wrestling is like the '80s, and when it was and that's when it was big fat fucking Earthquake was walking out there, and then right out of his mind, Don Morocco was out of there. Like I like the different. Like I don't know why people wouldn't want that. Why would you not want that?
Look, her look is athletic. She's
not a big sloppy fat. Like we're not talking about that.
She's not even fat. She's big. She's just big.
She's got big body.
Intimidating female. I mean, and I think there's a place for that.
Absolutely, they haven't had that since Karma, Amazing Kong or whatever, or Awesome Kong or whatever.
One match. I mean,
exactly right. It's 1 or 2 matches.
If it was even that much. So I would sign her. Provided she doesn't do anything stupid. That's someone that I would sign.
Absolutely. Giselle Shaw, she's a graduate of the Lance Storm Wrestling Academy. I know nothing about her, but the fact that she's a graduate of the Lance Storm means she's probably going to get signed. So
I know nothing about it. Can't comment.
Yeah, Andrea, she was a Rosie Lotta Love from TNA. I don't even remember that.
She stinks. She worked WrestleMania weekend for WWN Live, and
that's her. Yeah,
she lost a lot of weight. She was the one who injured Daphne in TNA.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
She looks like a completely different person now, and good on her. I mean, she got healthy, and she has again a great look. The problem is, from what I've seen, she's terrible. I don't think. If she gets in, it's going to be on her look. I don't think there's anything to work with there in terms of. I mean, look, if you want to bring her in, I guess she's got some kind of potential as a big bodyguard type, like WWN Live is using her. But with the working standard changing with the women now in that company, I don't think she can hang.
Forgot about her in WWN Live weekend. Yeah, she was really, really bad. Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to do that. Matt Riddell. Is it Riddell or Rydell? He's a former UFC and Bellator
Matt
fighter.
Riddle.
I know nothing, so I'm going to go Matt Riddle. Okay.
I mean, I can't grade him as a wrestler. The guy's an MMA fighter, but he's got a great personality. So, and he's obviously a great athlete. So there you go.
All right, Deanna Dahlgren. She's a pro bikini competitor.
I know nothing about
What are
her.
your thoughts? Yeah, what do you break down her? Okay, Nikki Galladay. She's from TV's Bad Girl Club. No idea who she is.
No clue.
Tommaso Ciampa, a man who was formerly in developmental.
Was he?
He was.
I don't remember that.
Many years ago.
I'm a big fan of his. I think he could. Now here's a guy who could benefit from slowing down a little bit sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
But the tools are there. The problem with him is where is he mentally? Because there's no big secret. I mean, he's been on podcasts where he's openly talked about, suicide, and there's some things there. The Sicilian psychopath is kind of a shoot. It's with him. It's where is he at mentally? I mean, as a professional wrestler, he's got a great look. He projects himself well. I think he's an excellent worker. He's a guy who really could benefit from learning the WWE.
Agreed.
Style.
He needs a little while. Yeah, he needs a while. They can sort of mold him a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas Chuck Taylor, like I said, don't change a thing. Just have that guy go out there. Ciampa, I think you can let him learn a little bit and try to hone in on that potential there, because there's stuff there, but yeah, it's not there quite yet. And it was 2007 that he was in developmental.
Oh wow,
it was OVW. Yeah, OVW days.
Jeez,
it led to his release led to a lot of issues as well. So
right, that's what I mean.
That we talked about.
If his head is in the game, he's worth taking a shot on for sure.
All right, and then interesting name that PW Insider came up with that I hadn't heard, and it wasn't in a lot of initial lists, but they came up with it. You might know him from Pro Wrestling Noah, Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols.
I mean, I can't.
If they don't sign those guys the minute they walk in, they're out of their mind.
Can't imagine they leave there without a contract or the promise of a contract, because
if they haven't left already with the idea that they're going to get signed, they're out of their damn mind.
I mean, provided they go there and they work hard and they don't have egos, which I have no reason to believe that they would. And there's nothing from that standpoint in terms of working ability, look, they're the right age to really come in.
It's just everything. Everything is the package.
No reason not to sign those guys.
There's nothing, yeah.
I mean, of everyone at that camp, and that's a loaded camp, they're the blue chippers to me.
Yes.
Of that camp. They are the blue chippers of that camp. And I would, if they don't leave there with a deal, I would love the explanation as to why. I can't see a reason not to take those guys. I just don't see it. They're everything you want. Yeah. They're international. They love that. You know what I mean? There's really no reason. They're the blue chippers, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. When I saw those names, I said I would be stunned if they walked out of there without a contract.
Shane Haste is a future star.
Yeah.
Nichols, he's the Genetti. But look, he's no slouch.
That's fine. Yeah, they can do that thing for about 5 years and then be fine.
But Haste has every tool. I mean, he's got the look that they desire. He's got everything. It's a good-looking dude. He's the kind, women, he would appeal to women. There's no reason not to sign those guys.
Yeah, I'd be stunned, just absolutely stunned. And yeah, I think all those guys, I mean, really, when we talk about it, and again, like I said, we'll probably do this debate for another show or leave this here, but I think it's quite telling of how deep that roster is and how, we talk about these tryouts, and usually there's like one or two guys or three, guys that we know, but look at these names. I mean, look at, I mentioned one bikini model, one UFC fighter, TV's Bad Girls Club. Everybody else is either trained at a reputable place or a guy that people know about, or they're guys that you've heard about, or guys or girls that you've heard about, have been places, have wrestled for years, done that sort of stuff. I mean, that to me is pretty telling.
It's really a shame that company ignored the indies as long as they did. And it's just crazy to me that so many people bought into the idea that was the proper strategy.
Yeah, was to sign a bodybuilder off the streets and teach him how to wrestle.
People defended that strategy.
I know.
Indie geeks, it's like, that's where you're learning your craft, and it's like they probably, and all that led to was all of these great people who are the best people on their roster right now coming in 5 years too late. Coming in either in their prime or on the back end of their primes. And it's a shame. because all these people should have been there a half a decade sooner. And who knows how many people they missed out on over the years who slipped through the cracks or were the wrong age and never ended up getting their opportunity because they ignored the indies for so long. So it's really great to see. And, you know, these indie guys come in, these indie people come in, and they're so far ahead of everybody else that it's eye-opening how stupid. And look, people like us knew, Rich. You know, you know, people like me and you were banging the drum for these ROH guys and wondering, you know, we knew that Claudio Castagnoli could walk into that company anytime and be, you know, one of the best workers on the roster. We knew that. You know, we knew that all these guys, I could run down all the names, but everyone knows them all already. And it's like, it's crazy because you know that there's guys who slip through the crowd, like an Austin Aries. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
a guy like Austin Aries, if he was 5 years younger, he'd be in this camp right now. You know?
Well, I think one of the guys that I always remember, and it was, you know, Tough Enough's happening right now, and I remember him is Matt Cross. Is a guy who could have benefited by doing a little bit less. Like, he was a guy who just was going ape shit for a while there on Ring of Honor or whatever. But then they had him at Tough Enough, and I said, okay, once they realized this guy and what he can do and what he looks like and all that sort of stuff, and then he was the first guy out at Tough Enough, and I was like, what the fuck? And then, you know, never called him back again. And now I think he's doing a great job on Lucha Underground, and he's a guy that could have just really, if they had 2 years to work with that guy.
Lucha Underground,
unbelievable.
Smash Wrestling. He's a good, you know, he's another guy.
He's a great worker.
And there's a lot of Matt Crosses and Austin Aries out there who, you know, because of their hiring practices, when these guys were, you know, when the windows were open for these people, they just weren't hiring guys like this. And it's
EC3 is another one too. I mean, he was there and
they had him,
you know,
but,
nothing.
you know, and they just
Did nothing. Yeah.
let him go. But I mean, you know, it's good to see that they've changed though, and you know, this other narrative that came up a few, oh, they've signed everyone off the indies. Listen, they're never going to sign everyone off the indies. That is such total bullshit. There's so much talent on everybody's local indie has a guy who's great. They really do. You go on YouTube and you watch these local indies. The smallest indie has a guy who's great, let alone, you know, decent side. There's so much talent on the indie. They're never going to sign. You're never going to empty out the indies. It's never going to happen. There's so much talent. You know, guys that are, you know, like this, you know, you can name guys that you know, like Fred Yehi, you know, that guy that,
yeah,
he'll
just step up. Then he'll just go to WWE Live and be fine.
And Adam Thornstowe, who, you know, these West Coast guys who, you know, finally got some exposure, you know, WrestleMania weekend. And it's like, there's always guys. Every indie has someone who's great. I mean, you know, it's just, you're never going to empty out the indies. Look at this tryout camp. Look at all the great talent at this tryout camp. So, you know, and it's great that that I don't know how long this is going to last. You know, maybe, you know, moving forward, this is going to be the way they're going to do things for the next 20 years. And if they do, it's great, because this is how things should work. Yeah. Guys should work their way up. Guys should be well-traveled. And, you know, before the indies, what guys did is they were well-traveled. They'd go to Japan, they'd go to Mexico, they'd go to Canada, they'd go to Europe. You know, that was the Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho path, you know, all those, you know. Now, you know, since 2002 or whatever, when the indies became a thing, this is how you guys go around the country and they work in different places. You work in PWG, you work in Chicago, you work in Texas, you work on the East Coast, and you work in front of different crowds. This is, you know, they wasted 10 years. They wasted 10 years.
Yep.
Not signing these people. And it's kind of depressing. It's kind of depressing. It really is.
All right, let's bounce around Japan, Joe. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You need to do the good intro. That's you.
Not only do I have the intro, I've got the topics ready.
I got topics too. I don't know if we have the same.
We'll throw them at each other. Rich, are you ready to bounce around Japan?
I am. Let's go.
Wrestle 1 is coming to the United States. Rich Craich.
This is so ridiculous. Do you have all the places they're going to?
5 shows up and down the East Coast. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, GA. They're coming to Badge Street, Rich. Wrestle 1 is coming to Badge Street.
Oh, God. Who's going to these shows?
I'll tell you who's going. I'm going. Because I found out today I can get to Atlanta in 12 hours. Okay?
Yeah?
I'm going to say it publicly now. If Dylan Hales agrees to meet me in Atlanta, Georgia,
Oh boy.
I'm going to the Wrestle One show in Atlanta. I'm going to make that happen. So,
Listen, Dylan.
but I'm not going to be by myself. I'm not driving 12 hours to Atlanta to stand against the back wall and watch the Barbarian wrestle Jiro in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, I want to meet somebody there, spend a night, and then drive home the next day. But I will go to Atlanta. I will do 12 hours. I can do 12
You guys
hours.
have to have the same hotel room, or can you have different
No.
hotels?
He can drive home. I think he lives within decent driving distance.
He does not live with a decent.
He was going to drive to Atlanta for Ring of Honor.
I think he was going to stay though, right? Or he's nuts. He is nuts. I forgot about that.
Didn't he drive to Atlanta to watch Mark Henry?
He is insane.
Probably like
that's a hell of a drive
match.
for him. Let me look it up real quick for him. I don't think he should be making that drive in one night.
He's spoken of threatening to drive to Atlanta before, but
let me see about that. I don't think he should do that. But
so anyway, this indie promotion that's working with Wrestle One and no doubt going to lose their ass.
It's 5 hours. I mean, I guess if you want to do,
It's not bad.
I mean, this is at 1:45 a.m. So I guess
You get home at 5 or 6 a.m.
Well, no, I meant like I'm sure the traffic's a little bit heavier than it is right now at normal hours when people exist. But Dylan's an odd fellow. He doesn't sleep, so that's probably okay.
He doesn't sleep either, huh?
Not really, no.
But anyway, the Wrestle One shows. So they're working with this. What's this indie group? AP. What's the name of this group?
AP. What the group that they are working with is APWA.
And some of the wrestlers that work for this group include the Barbarian.
Yep. That Barbarian.
Yes,
in case
that
you're curious.
Barbarian. To watch that man mix it up with the Wrestle One crew. I mean, how can you turn that down? I mean, geez. So, Wrestle One's coming to the United States. Rich, if Wrestle One was running Chicago, would you go?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If the Barbarian was working the show, obviously you'd have to find a way to get there.
I looked at the date, and like none of the places are any like even remotely close for me. They're just a tinge too far. Even if they were in like Indiana, I would even justify like a Cincinnati. I'd probably drive to Cincinnati to see the Wrestle One.
You can see why I'm considering this Atlanta drive.
I do. I mean, that's one of your once in a lifetime. It's one of those things that you're going to say, if I didn't do it, I'm going to feel like an idiot.
How can you? I mean, when am I ever going to have the chance?
Because it's so stupid that Wrestle fucking One is coming to the East Coast. Like,
I mean,
like some money mark decided, yeah, you know what, Wrestle One, let's tour the East Coast with this promotion that nobody knows about,
some of these matches
that nobody goes to in Japan. Like,
and some of these matches they've announced looked all right. I mean, but yeah. So Wrestle One coming to the United States. Rich, do you have a topic for me as we?
I do. This is right up your alley again. This is a show that I know if you could fly to Tokyo, if you had enough time, you'd probably go to this. We Are Suzuki Gun, the famed Suzuki Gun produced event going on 6-9 Korakuen Hall, Tokyo. Have you seen this card?
I have, and it looks tremendous.
This is the Joe Lanza specialty. I kind of laughed at it and I said, this card's not that good. Then I saw a few matches here, and I'm with you now. This is good. And the best news. Have we been able to confirm this from multiple sources now?
Yes.
It will be airing live.
I don't know if it's airing live.
People said live, but I don't think they mean that. I think they just mean it's going to be out.
I saw next day delivery is what I saw.
Yeah, I cannot imagine it's on live. But
the point is, it's on
either
New
way,
Japan World.
Right. The We Are Suzuki Gun show will be shown on NewJapanWorld.com. So if you don't already subscribe, this is the show that you're going to want to watch. Joe, let's break down this card here real quick. Marufuji versus Nagata.
That's the
is
opener.
Your opener. Is your goddamn opener of the show.
That's a nightmare match for a lot of people, but I think that's going to be a lot of fun,
I'm fine with
especially on a show like this.
Okay, you're going to have to pronounce this next bro's name. It's not John Webb and Jack Gamble. I got those. What's it, Hiranagi?
John Webb and Jack Gamble
No, I got those. Those are fine.
The Noah Young Boys, of course. Genba Hirayanagi is who you're speaking.
Is it Hiranagi? Okay, I got it.
Just say Genba. Everyone calls him Genba.
Yeah.
That's
Genba. Okay.
The comedy junior heel of
yes.
Noah. Yes.
And Kumano.
Yeah, Hitoshi Kamanu. Their hot young prospect.
Now here's the next match is the one that I'm and I tweeted out earlier that if you're not excited for this match, then you need to find a new hobby. Gato and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Captain New Japan and Captain Noah.
We knew the day was going to come that Captain New Japan was going to team with the mysterious Captain Noah. And that day has finally arrived, and they're going against Gato, who we do nothing but praise on the show, and Zack Sabre Jr. Rich, this is an amazing match. I mean,
Zack Sabre Jr. finally filling in for Jado, who where the fuck is Jado?
I don't know where
let's
Jado's
be honest.
Jado,
because Gato's got to find Zack Sabre now, and
Jado's missing in action. We don't know where Jado is, but I'm excited to see Captain New Japan team with Captain Noah.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the best thing
I'd
ever.
like to see them enter some of the tag leagues later this year, potentially.
Just do it. Do it forever.
Noah
That's their
and
new
Japan
part.
together.
Yeah, don't drag Tanahashi. Tanahashi doesn't want to be dragged down by Captain New Japan anymore. Get him dragged down by Captain Noah, right?
He broke Captain New Japan's heart, if you recall.
Exactly. Yes, last year he said, "I'm going to not team with you this time. Do you mind?"
Captain New Japan was very sad. Maybe
we wanted that to be the heel turn. We wanted Captain Bullet Club, but it didn't happen.
It did not happen.
Taichi and El Desperado versus Jushin Thunder Liger and Ogawa.
What a team! Jushin Liger teaming up with Ogawa. I mean, what a team. How can you not like this show? Anyone who says they don't like this show is nuts. This is a great show.
Shelton Benjamin and Taka Michinoku versus Segura and Harada.
Yeah, now, listen. Did you see the picture they used? Shelton Benjamin looks like Bobby Lashley in the picture.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what that was.
He looks enormous. I couldn't figure out who it was at first. I was like, wait a minute, that has to be Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know if he's been healthier lately. I mean, I've seen him in shows. He didn't look that big. I don't know what the hell that was, but yeah.
A lot of good workers there. If Shelton Benjamin feels like working, that.
Would this be better if it was Tanaka and Segura?
Oh, of course it would.
Does it lose a little because of that? I mean,
well, I don't mind Harada, but the thing is,
no, it's fine.
It's in Harada. I think is getting the next shot against Taichi, so he'll probably pin Taka, right? But I mean, but these produce shows, you never know. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, they follow no sort of canon whatsoever.
It seems as though the way it's booked, though, that there's some storyline stuff there because, well, we'll talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, why not? Why not build it up for Noah? First time ever special attraction match here. NWA World Tag Team titles. Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer, the champions, the Killer Elite Squad versus Ten Koji. It's Satoshi Kojima and Tenzan. Joe, I can't imagine what this match is going to look like with these two teams finally battling once and for all, but man, I cannot wait.
Seventh match between no, is it the seventh or is it the eighth?
I think it's the 12th, isn't it?
No, well, it's the 13th match overall. But
but for the titles? Okay.
No. 13th match overall, but just 2 versus 2 because there's a bunch of 3-way tags, 4-way tags.
I got you.
I think Killer Elite Squad holds a 4-3 edge in just 2 versus 2.
So Tenkoji has to win this so they can have the big blow off at Wrestle Kingdom.
Now,
right?
that would be a tag team title change, which I can't really see happening in this state.
No.
But you never know. Would it completely shock you? It would completely shock Bruce Tharp because this morning on Twitter, Lance Hoyt it seemed like Bruce Tharp was finding out for the first time that his tag team titles were being defended on this show. So
I think so too. Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So, but yeah, so two teams that are obviously very familiar with each other. But I tell you what, this is a match that we always roll our eyes, and then it always over delivers.
It always delivers.
It always over delivers. You think it's going to be some shitty 2-star match, and they go out there and they give you 3.5 stars.
And then the main event, which is actually probably my least anticipated match of this entire thing, Minoru Suzuki teaming up with Azuka against Takayama and your boy Maybach Taniguchi.
Because you got Maybach and you got Azuka in the match, but here's the thing: you've got Minoru Suzuki and Takayama's interactions are going to be fun. And again, his next title challenger is in this match. So they do seem to be following title matches. Storylines to some extent with this show. This is such a wacky show.
That's a great show. You got to watch.
How can you not be into this? I mean, this is so wacky that you have to.
You were just screaming in our internal group that we have to review this live. We have to do something.
Yeah.
We've got to review it.
And then you guys all ripped me. But then you all looked at the card and you were like, oh, wait, this is a cool fucking show. I mean,
because I saw the main event and I was like, meh. And then I saw everything else and I was like, oh, never mind.
There's some really cool shit on this.
That Captain Noah, Captain New Japan, I'm so pumped for that.
In all seriousness, Super No vacancy at Cork and Hall or no?
Ooh, Suzuki though. I mean, that's a big people.
They're not selling out Noah.
Noah's not doing well.
Put about 1,600 in.
I don't know. This has a special attraction to it that could be interesting. Whereas Noah doesn't have the same sort of drag. You know, it doesn't have that drag of that Noah brand. I think a lot of it is the brand as well that people are sort of. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think it does.
I'll say they won't fill it. I'll say they'll come. I'll say they'll do better than Noah's been doing, but they won't fill it.
Yeah, I think without the stink of Noah, it's going to help a little bit. But we'll see.
I don't think it'll be the small setup. I think they'll do the big setup, and but not fill it up. But we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. I will make sure that we review it for the site too.
Yeah. Come hell or high water, that will be reviewed for our site. Do not worry. We will be top notch. We are Suzuki Gun coverage.
We are not done bouncing around Japan. I have another topic for you, Rich. Your quick thoughts on this one.
Is it about Union? Because I did not watch.
It's not about Union.
Okay.
We're going to stick with Pro Wrestling Noah.
Because I watched Guts World, so if you want to talk about Guts World, you can.
We got a little tip from a follower who spoke to Davey Boy Smith Jr. at an indie show. And he says that Davey Boy Smith Jr. told him that the Suzuki Gun members will not be participating in the G1 tournament this year.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to confirm that with some sources and were unable to confirm. My gut is telling me these guys are not going to be in New Japan at all this year, the Suzuki Gun guys. Yeah. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the Suzuki Gun members? That would be Davey Boy Smith Jr., Lance Archer, Shelton Benjamin, and
I'm not worried about Shelton.
And Minoru Suzuki. Those are the 4 guys who are in the G1 every year for probably the last 3 or 4 years now. They will not be in the G1 this year. What do you think about that?
I'm okay with it just because it'll be some new blood in the G1. Suzuki's going to be a big loss. That's huge, and obviously we can all speak to that. I mean, this guy who's had multiple match of the year contenders in previous G1s or whatever, so that's a huge blow. And Dave Boy Smith's always been a guy who I've really enjoyed when he gets on a singles run and can do his own thing. And Archer to his own extent as well. He can kind of do real good work as a single, but I'm okay with it. I think 4 new names in there, new blood. I think that's a big part of New Japan right now. Is it's sort of for people that watch every show and follow it like we do, it can get stagnant. The roster's been pretty stagnant as of late, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with 4 new names, be it whoever the hell they are, whether they're guys from Ring of Honor, whether they're the Roderick Strongs of the world, whether they're just guys from other Japan, Daisuke Sakamoto or something like that. Who knows? I'm okay with it because it's 4 different names, 4 new names, as long as it's just not internal guys and they just don't move up, somebody that you would sort of assume. But I think it'd be kind of fun to bring in some outsiders and bring in some new blood. So I'm okay with it. Suzuki's going to be a big loss, but I'll get over it. All
right. What do you got for me?
All right, I got Dragon Gate here. I don't know how much you've been following Dragon Gate as of late, but Yoshino defeated T-Hawk to win the King of the Gate tournament. That was at the end of May. What were your thoughts on that? Because Dave's been reporting, and it's been reported by some other people as well, that Dragon Gate fans weren't quite ready for T-Hawk. Whereas you and I think we kind of thought it'd be fine to kind of pull the trigger on him. Do you agree or disagree?
I thought T-Hawk was going to win this. I actually thought he was a lock to win this. I was kind of surprised that he didn't win this. Yoshino has now won everything there is to win in Dragon Gate. I think that's important to note.
Yes, he's won every title and every tournament. So,
but look, this is
second guy. Rookie Doi is the only one to do that.
Right. So, interestingly enough, famous tag team partners. But, so this isn't obviously going to derail T-Hawk or anything. He's obviously the star of the future there. So, maybe next year. But
it'll take a little bit longer than usual, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with it at all. Look, Masato Yoshino is such an underrated worker. He's
so good.
Yeah, he really is.
I'm glad that he's the guy that they've always, and that's the thing we always talk about Dragon Gate. When they decide, okay, you're our guy for this X amount of period, that guy's always ready to go and ready to be awesome and ready to be good. And he's a perfect candidate for that. He's a guy I've always loved. And it's been a while since they've kind of lit that fire under him and said, okay, you're our guy for a little bit. He's gonna have fantastic matches. I mean, these are gonna be must-see matches for this entire summer with him, near the top or whatever. And interesting enough, 6/14, it's him against BB Hulk.
Yes.
Do you think the title happens?
No.
You don't think
Hulk
it happens?
retains.
When do you think Hulk eventually drops it?
Hard to,
if you have a prediction.
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
But I don't think Yoshino's the right guy for that. The right guy would obviously Tozawa, obviously T-Hawk. I think there's better options. I can't give you an answer of who I think it'll be at this point, but it won't be Yoshino. I think Yoshino is a good scalp for Hulk. It's a good win to put under his belt.
I'm just done with the Hulk. It hasn't been great. I haven't enjoyed it, so I'm kind of ready for it to be over.
I disagree.
So.
I think Hulk has over-delivered. I didn't think he'd be as good as
I
he's
haven't been a fan.
All right, sticking with Dragon Gate. Satoshi Kojima worked the Dragon Gate show a couple of weeks ago, and they strongly hinted at, a Satoshi Kojima Shingo singles match. Are you buying a Satoshi Kojima Shingo singles match in Dragon Gate?
God, yes. Why would I not?
So you're into that?
Why would I be out of my mind if I wasn't into that?
Go in that direction.
Absolutely.
Kojima, a mentor of sorts to Shingo.
Exactly.
The Battle of Lariats.
That right there. Yeah, that's just them throwing stiff lariats at each other for 10 minutes is A-okay with me.
Does it always surprise you that Kojima's older than Tenzan?
Yeah, Tenzan moves like a 60-year-old. Like, he moves worse than kind of Kobashi, so you'd assume. But yeah, I'm always shocked by that. How old? What's the difference?
It's only a year, but
it's only a year. Okay,
it's surprising. Well, one guy obviously takes care of himself, The other guy, as I can attest to, smokes before the matches. One of the most interesting moments I've ever saw, I was in San Antonio, and Tenzan was in to do some NWA shows, and he was outside, shirtless, in his
Oh,
in his
yeah.
wrestling like spandex gear, like so he was wearing his trunks with no shirt but no boots. He had sandals on, and he was outside on the street in San Antonio smoking a cigarette with his mullet and his Tenzan face and his wrestling trunks and his sandals, and the looks on the faces of the cars driving by and the looks on the faces of the people like walking around, because the venue in San Antonio that NWA BOW runs is like in a park. So you have all this beehive of activity going around, just families, people, joggers, things like that. You've got this Japanese man who looks like a movie monster. Because let's be honest, he's not.
Yeah, he's the hair is ridiculous. The hair is just unbelievable.
He's no Tom Selleck, okay? Tom Selleck.
Yeah, what a topical what?
I don't know. Who knows?
There's no other Hollywood hunk that you could pick out of the line. You went to Tom Selleck was the number one, and you yell at me for calling you old.
I have no.
What you just went with Hollywood hunk Tom Selleck, who by the way is still a dashing
Blue Bloods, which is also a former WCW.
Michelle's grandma. When we went to go visit her in South Carolina, we were doing something and we said, "Oh, hey, do you want to?" And she got like offended. She was like, "No, I watch Blue Bloods." Like it was like Sunday at whatever the hell Blue Bloods is on. And we're like, "Oh, we're gonna go here. Do you want to come with?" And she was like, "No, I have to watch Blue Bloods or whatever." And
every person,
and she made us sit there and watch it too. I had to watch it as well. She was like, "Well, where are you guys going?" We're like, "Well, we're gonna go." She's like, "No, Blue Bloods is on." We're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we're watching Blue Bloods then."
Given that you should have known.
Yeah. Okay, we're watching Blue Bloods then. All right.
Every American over 60 watches Blue Bloods. All of them.
Like she couldn't even comprehend that we didn't know that Blue Bloods was on. She was like, "Well, it's Sunday. Blue Bloods is on." We're like, "Oh yeah, of course,
absolutely."
Blue Bloods.
If you're over 60, you're into the Blue Bloods. And let me tell you,
it's a good show. It was not bad.
35 years ago when Magnum PI was on, Michelle's grandmother was flicking the bean to Tom Selleck. You realize that, right? God. You realize that's the case.
No, I know. I'm aware.
I mean, Tom Selleck was the hunk of all hunks in the 80s. So, when Michelle's grandmother was having a little private time before she was a grandmother, probably, Am I making this real uncomfortable?
This is a horrible uncomfortable.
I have no idea why I used Tom Selleck as my
Ryan Reynolds is who you meant to say. Tom Hardy is what you meant. But.
I could have went with the old Brad Pitt. I could have went a lot of different ways there. But for some, look, Tenzan looks.
At least you didn't go Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds would have been worse. But
no, he's been on his deathbed for a couple years too. You keep waiting for that shoe to drop. But yeah, look, the point here, Tenzan looks like a movie monster. The man is very ugly, and he had his mullet, and he had no shirt on, and he has wrestling trunks and his sandals, and he was puffing on cigarettes. The point here is he clearly doesn't take care of himself, with the smoking and eating. And Kojima's a guy who's clearly on steroids or human growth hormone or whatever the hell it is he does, and cares more about his appearance and is always tweeting out pictures of his food. So he's older, but he tends to stay in better shape. The point here, I think he can have an excellent match with Shingo, and I do hope they do that. And maybe they'll do it in Kobe. How about that?
Ooh, I like it. That's good. Is it enough time to build? When's Kobe? Is usually the end of July? Or no, August, first week of August.
Well, they did their build already because he worked the 1-6-man show, and then they did the post-match promo deal. So I don't know. It seems like they may be building to that. And if you talk to the Dragon Gate people, Shingo doesn't really have much of a direction right now. So they might do a Kojima match. I'm with you. I'm buying that. I'd be all in on that. That could be a fun match. What else you got?
That's all I got for bouncing around Japan this week. It was not a lot of stuff. You got any?
I got more.
Oh boy,
we're not done bouncing around Japan, Rich. All Japan Pro Wrestling has rolled out a streaming service, only available to in Japan, and only available if you have a certain cable package of some sort or something. 777 yen a month gets you all of the current All Japan archives going back to when Akiyama took over the company, which is only going back a year or so. And
Yeah, so that's an important distinction because we had a lot of people going, "Oh my God, when's the 1992 stuff going to be on there in '91?" No,
essentially a different company.
it's a different company. Yeah, it's called All Japan Pro Wrestling, but it's not All Japan Pro
They got
Wrestling.
the belts, they got the logos, but in business terms, it's a different.
It ceased to be All Japan Pro Wrestling when Akiyama took over and he recreated the company. He basically bought the company out from the guys and then redid it. It's unique, but yeah, it's a different company.
Basically a different company. So, if you lived in Japan, Rich, would you spend the 777 yen for the current New Japan product? That works out to what, about $6 a month?
It was around $6. Yeah, it was around $6. Yeah, I probably would just because I'm an idiot, but it's a tough sell. The problem right now is you don't get a lot of All Japan. Like if it was no, I would say absolutely fucking no because like they're on TV constantly and there's always uploads coming up and stuff. All Japan sort of it doesn't air often. It comes up, pops up every so often. So I feel like I am missing a lot by not watching it. But then every time I watch All Japan, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really not missing anything.
Actually, I disagree with you there. I think the match quality in All Japan is just a smidge below New Japan a lot of the time. I won't say it's as good as New Japan because it's not.
You're insane, but okay.
New Japan's deeper, but I mean, look, the top of the All Japan cards, we got Akiyama, Go Shiozaki, Miyahara. There's a lot of good stuff.
No, I agree there, but the other stuff is horrendous.
No, once you get down lower in the card.
That's what I meant. No, I agree. No, I agree. The top is, but the other part is just awful.
Yeah, I mean, New Japan's deeper. I mean, but All Japan at the top, very good stuff, very comparable. Definitely, listen. Of the non-New Japan and Dragon Gate groups, if I can only watch one Japanese promotion, I'd probably pick All Japan based on match quality.
Wait, let's start that over. What'd you say again? You're gonna do who over what?
I thought we lost connection again. Jeez.
No, I'm thinking there.
I'm no-sold me here. What I said
I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I don't know.
Take New Japan and Dragon Gate out of the equation.
Okay.
Because we know we're going to pick those.
I see. Okay.
Every other group in Japan, if you could only watch one, Desert Island Theory, okay, you get one channel, all right? Are you picking the All Japan channel? You picking the DDT channel, the Big Japan channel? I'm telling you, I'm going with All Japan. I'm going to tell you.
I'm going DDT.
Here's the problem with DDT. I can't deal with all the comedy bullshit on the lower.
Oh, yeah. See, I can let that slide. I can let that slide a little bit, but I get that for you.
And the problem with Big Japan, same thing. Top of the card's fantastic.
I'm not going to watch any of those death matches. Listen, yeah, I'm going to skip 95% of the events.
I'm not watching Abdullah Kobayashi. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to watch a light tube match ever again.
The death match stuff, I never watch any of it. It's trash. The DDT stuff underneath, look, it's fun. I get a nice chuckle out of it sometimes. But look, for my sensibilities and my taste, look, I'm telling you, my pick would be All Japan.
What about that Hot Wrestle 1?
It would not be Wrestle 1. I'll drive
K Dojo. Yeah.
I'll drive 12 hours to a Wrestle 1 show.
But I'm not going to watch it.
But it wouldn't be my Desert Island choice. And it definitely not. Listen, I promise you I'm done with K Dojo. I've had enough of the K Dojo. I'm not going to believe anybody anymore when they tell me that Kengo Mishimo is any good because he's not. Kengo Mishimo stinks. And I'm tired of hearing about how good he is because he's terrible. Okay, and I'm not doing the K Dojo anymore. The only K Dojo I'm doing is when Taka gets in there and stretches the young boys. It's the only interesting thing they ever do in K Dojo. Are we done bouncing around Japan?
I think we are.
That's all my topics. I got nothing for.
Yeah, real quick. One thing that I did want to talk real fast. I was looking at All Japan stuff here. Akibono defending the crown, the Triple Crown against Miyahara on June 21st. Any chance? And we talked about it on last week's show. Any chance that Miyahara wins here?
Should.
Because New Japan, you don't know with All Japan, they can bounce. The title bounces, it goes all over the place. It's always hot. It's a hot potato.
Look, they've set it up nicely. Miyahara got murdered by Akibono during Akibono's first title defense. It was essentially a squash match. Miyahara beat him in the Champion Carnival to set up this title defense. If it were me, I'd put Miyahara over right here, right now. Because you're putting him over a monster. You're putting him over a guy who he couldn't beat for the title last time, is the best possible opponent for him to defeat because Akiyama's already in the rear view. He won the feud with Akiyama.
Yeah.
Okay? Akiyama put him over. And that pushed Miyahara into the upper echelon. Now is the time. If you're going to put the title on, this is a good time to do it. Okay? Akibono has no upside. He's 46 years old. There's no upside with him.
He's also bad, yeah.
I like him. I don't. I like him. I thought his last title run was good. I enjoyed all of his title matches when he had the title earlier this year or whenever that was. But this is the right guy for him to beat. And I think you might as well do it if you're All Japan. Give it to the fresh, the new blood, the guy that you've been building underneath. Clearly, Akiyama, who's running things, believes in Miyahara.
Understood that. Yeah, right.
Because he's been the one putting him over. So he gets it. So I do think there's a chance you could see a title change here. I'd be okay with a close but no cigar loss, where he comes within a hair of winning the title and comes close, but only if it's to build for a bigger title win some point down the line. But clearly Miyahara is the guy that they're gonna that they should run with.
And for good reason as well.
Yeah.
Super talented, yeah. That's their next generation guy that they want to do.
Yeah, and look, I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if he'll catch on. I don't know if it'll work. But
worth a shot.
But this is the guy. But he's the guy that you have to try. He's the one
with zero downside because it's all Japan and there's nowhere else to go. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. So Joe, I believe we are done bouncing around Japan unless you have anything else. And are we done in general?
I think we're done in general.
Are we out of topics? We're done in general. We are. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, Skype blows. And we're gonna have to figure out something else here. And that's all.
This update seems to have helped because we went. What do we have now? 2 hours and 12 minutes without getting interrupted. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't trust it.
I don't trust it either. No, I'm gonna find other methods. So anyway, help us find other methods that might cost money. Actually, voiceofwrestling.com/Amazon, voiceofwrestling.com/WWE shop to help us out in case we do need to pay for some new recording stuff because this has gotten really bad. For Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich, and we'll see you next time on the Voice of Wrestling Podcast. Take care.